Chapter 331 White Platinum Tier Blazing Sun Desert. Yellow Gold Tier Advance Grade Potential Advancement Potion. When Liya heard Zhou Zhou's words, her expression relaxed and she smiled again. Zhou Zhou also reacted at this moment. You came prepared. He smiled. Sorry, I had no choice. The power of the Diamond Tier Elementary Grade Aurora Kingdom Tower is indeed astonishing. But there's only one. It can't play an obvious role in the entire battle in the end. But there aren't many Diamond Tier Aurora crystals in the country, so I thought of what you once said. Liya apologized. It's nothing. I've indeed said this before. I won't refuse to obtain Aurora crystals for you. Then let's talk about the price. Zhou Zhou said. Okay. Liya nodded. This was not an obligation to begin with, so Liya did not feel that anything was wrong with Zhou Zhou negotiating the price. We will naturally provide the corpses of the honorable subjects. No matter how many Aurora crystals you give us in the end, they'll give you all the 200 territory fusion certificates I brought. How about that? As for the 200 territory fusion certificates, among them are 80 black iron tier, 50 green bronze tier, 30 white silver tier, 20 yellow gold tier, 15 white platinum tier, and 5 diamond tier. It should be enough to satisfy your needs for the development of your territory in a short period of time. After Liya finished speaking, she looked at Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue. What a huge sum. Ever since the Aurora Kingdom was established, there were only 300 to 400 territory fusion certificates left. He was actually given 200 territory fusion certificates. Moreover, there were 5 diamond tier territory fusion certificates. This was definitely the highest level territory fusion certificate in the Aurora Kingdom. There were a total of 220 territory fusion certificates in addition to the previous 20. It was already half of the Aurora Kingdom's treasury. Giving him nearly half of the territory fusion certificate was almost equivalent to cutting off his kingdom's hope of advancing to an empire-level lord faction in the future. It seemed that the situation in the Aurora Kingdom was indeed not optimistic. Otherwise, he would not have made such a desperate move. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. This was also because he had a good relationship with Liya. Otherwise, if it was another lord faction, he might be able to take advantage of the situation as long as he had some strength. However, he naturally would not do such a thing. Sure. Zhou Zhou agreed immediately. When Liya heard this, joy immediately appeared on her face. She immediately took out a large stack of territory fusion certificates from her spatial equipment and handed them all to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou's sixth senses was extremely shocking. As soon as he took it, he knew that there were indeed 200 territory fusion certificates inside. He did not take a closer look. He still trusted Liya. Where are the honorable subjects' corpses now? Zhou Zhou asked. In a spatial ring in my residence. Put it at the territory warehouse. I'll get someone to take care of it. If nothing goes wrong, you'll be able to obtain the Aurora crystals tomorrow. Zhou Zhou said. Liya's eyes lit up. She immediately asked Yu Qiao to go home and retrieve her things. Then, she sent them to the warehouse immediately. After she left, Zhou Zhou pondered for a few seconds and said, Actually, I have something to discuss with you. What is it? Liya said in surprise. I've been attacking the southern territory of the Taiyan Kingdom in the past 2 days, which is Dark Night Town. As soon as Zhou Zhou finished speaking, Liya immediately opened her mouth slightly, her eyes filled with surprise. Wi. With the strength of the Taiyan Kingdom, won't you fall into great danger if it sends troops to attack your territory? In her eyes, even though Zhou Zhou's lord faction in Blazing Sun City was already developing very quickly, however, it should still be far from being able to go against a kingdom, right? That was a kingdom that had developed for hundreds of years after all. How could a lord faction that had developed for a little more than 10 days deal with it? Not really. My territory already has some strength. It shouldn't be a big problem to touch the Taiyan kingdom. At the moment. I've already sent troops to capture and occupy Dark Knight Town, Red Wasp Town, and 2 other Green Bronze Tier regional territories to the south of the Taiyan kingdom, a White Silver Tier regional territory, and a White Platinum Tier regional territory, East Demon City. Zhou Zhou smiled. Li Ya's eyes were blank. She definitely wouldn't believe it if someone else said that. She would even think that he was a braggart and unreliable person. From now on, she wouldn't even be close to him. However, the person who said this was the Lord of the Blazing Sun, Zhou Zhou. This made her hesitate. In her impression, her friend was extremely steady and never did anything that he was not confident in. Could it be that he was really confident in facing the anger of the Taiyan kingdom? I have 2 armies under me now with more than 140,000 professionals in total. It's true. I have no reason to lie to you. Zhou Zhou looked at the hesitation in the other party's eyes and simply told him the truth. At this rate, he would have them after the monster ranch was cleaned up the next day. You already have so many professionals. This was also the first time Li Ya knew of Zhou Zhou's military strength. She was immediately stunned. This number was already 1/8 of the total military strength of the Aurora Kingdom. Chapter 332 White Platinum Tier Blazing Sun Desert. Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade Potential Advancement Potion. It did not look like much, but how long had the Aurora Kingdom been developing for, and how long had Zhou Zhou's Lord faction in Blazing Sun City developed for? Li Ya was really surprised precisely because she knew about this. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. So the matter you wanted to discuss with me is, Li Ya was a little puzzled. I hope your Aurora Kingdom can attack more fiercely on the main battlefield. I will also speed up the offensive on my side. Both of us attacking will be able to allow the Taiyan Kingdom to disperse their forces on 2 battlefields. This is good for both your Aurora Kingdom and my Lord faction in Blazing Sun City. Of course. Pretend I didn't say anything if your Aurora Kingdom has your own considerations and it's not convenient for you to change your strategy. Zhou Zhou said. With his current strength, even if the Aurora Kingdom did not involve the main forces of the Taiyan Kingdom on the main battlefield, he was also confident that he could use Kingdom Beginning City as a springboard to gradually devour the entire Aurora Kingdom. The time required would not exceed a month. Sorry. It's not that we don't want to help, but we really can't do it. Our Aurora Kingdom has a total military strength of about 1-2 million. At this stage, we need to defend against the attacks of the Titan Kingdom in the north, the Taiyan Kingdom in the west, and the Nether Bark Kingdom in the east. It's already very difficult for us to defend when the 3 kingdoms attack our Aurora Kingdom together. We really don't have any extra troops to take the initiative to attack. Li Ya said. How could she not want to help Zhou Zhou? But this was the big picture. Her father wouldn't be able to deliver if she wanted his help. Zhou Zhou was not too disappointed. Instead, he felt a strange feeling. Does that mean I am their only hope of breaking out of the situation? Zhou Zhou shook his head in his heart and did not think too much about it. It doesn't matter. I have other ways to deal with it. He said. That's good. Li Ya heaved a sigh of relief. By the way, Li Ya. Can you bring me along when you return to the Aurora Kingdom? I want to go to your main battlefield and see the strength of the main army of the Taiyan Kingdom. Can I? Zhou Zhou asked. Of course. Li Ya immediately nodded in agreement. Then, the 2 of them chatted for a while more. She then left with Yu Qiao when Yu Qian returned. After they left, Zhou Zhou took out the 200 territory fusion certificates that Li Ya had given him. With so many territory fusion certificates, I can integrate all the territories into the Blazing Sun Desert. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he began to fuse Green Forest, the White Silver Tier territory that he had not been able to fuse last time. Green Forest. Dark Knight Town. Red Wasp Town. As regional territories were integrated into the Blazing Sun Desert one after another, the area of the Blazing Sun Desert was also rapidly increasing. Soon, it officially advanced to a White Platinum Tier regional territory. Until it fused with the last Kingdom Beginning City. You have chosen Kingdom Beginning City, White Platinum Tier regional territory, as the target for the fusion of your initial territory. Fusion in progress. Fusion successful. Congratulations, your initial territory, the Blazing Sun Desert, White Platinum Tier regional territory, has successfully fused with Kingdom Beginning City, White Platinum Tier regional territory. Your Blazing Sun Desert, White Platinum Tier, territory level has increased slightly. The range of your Blazing Sun Desert, White Platinum Tier, territory has increased. Your Blazing Sun Desert, White Platinum Tier, territory has perfectly inherited all the territory resources of the original territory and the fusion territory. Your Blazing Sun Desert, White Platinum Tier, energy density and energy level have increased significantly. Please continue to fuse regional territories and increase the level of your regional territories. It didn't advance. Zhou was a little disappointed to see that the Blazing Sun Desert was still a White Platinum Tier regional territory. However, he was not disappointed for too long because he could feel that it would probably be able to advance to Diamond Tier if he fused another regional territory. When the time comes. As long as he advanced to an Extraordinary Tier regional territory, he would have completed 2 of the 3 conditions to establish a kingdom. As for the last 30 regional territories, they were the easiest. At that time, it would be easy to conquer some low-level ownerless territories. He could officially establish his own kingdom. He looked at the Blazing Sun Desert's current stats information. Area name, Blazing Sun Desert, changeable, regional grade, Green Bronze Tier, territory, Lord of the Blazing Sun, area, about 76,583 square kilometers, Zhou nodded. More than 70,000 square kilometers. This had already far exceeded the area of a White Platinum Tier territory. Kingdom Beginning City only had more than 30,000 square kilometers. Zhou estimated. When the area of the Blazing Sun Desert reached 100,000 square meters, it should be time for it to advance to a Diamond Tier regional territory. This was not difficult at all. He just had to conquer another Yellow Gold Tier regional territory. Then, Zhou walked out of the Lord Manor with the 22 Alchemy Technician recruitment books and 16 Alchemy Pharmacist recruitment books he had obtained today. He came to the Gate of Summoning and threw all these recruitment books into it. After they all came out, Zhou checked their attribute information as usual. Originally, he did not care too much. This was because when he was summoning these alchemy technicians and alchemy pharmacists in the past, the alchemy technologies and alchemy potions they had mastered were useless or unorthodox alchemy technologies and alchemy potions. They were not very useful to the development of his territory. Therefore, he casually sent those alchemy technicians and alchemy pharmacists to the Gnome Alchemy Workshop to help after that. However, this time, when he checked their attribute information, he realized that something was different. Moreover, it was a different place that surprised him. Zhou looked at the woman in front of him. Subject, Luoli, territory, Blazing Sun City, life profession, alchemy pharmacist, class, White Platinum Tier advanced grade, ability overview, an alchemy potion master from the Gnome Kingdom. He is one of the honorary vice presidents of the Gnome Kingdom's Alchemy Potion Association. He has mastered many alchemy potion formulas and pioneered many new alchemy potion formulas. He is one of the respected alchemy potion masters in the alchemy world. Skills, talent, potion master, alchemy potion, potential advancement potion, Yellow Gold Tier advanced grade, alchemy potion, life potion, White Platinum Tier advanced grade, alchemy potion, energy potion, White Platinum Tier advanced grade, alchemy potion, disintegration potion, special grade, loyalty, 89, potential, epic tier elementary grade, Yellow Gold Tier advanced grade potential advancement potion. Zhou Zhou looked at the words, Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade Potential Advancement Potion, in the other party's skill list and his eyes lit up. He immediately looked at the specific information of this potion. He realized that it could indeed increase its potential like the Potential Advancement Potion in the past. Moreover, it could be upgraded to Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade at most. This potion came at the right time. Zhou Zhou was excited. The subjects in his territory needed a high-level potential advancement potion the most. After all, the previous potential advancement potion could only be upgraded to the bronze tier. With the white platinum tier Lord Talent, blessing of the 10 gods, the blessing of the war god, the strength of his subjects increased rapidly and began to approach the limit of their potential. Currently, many of the soldiers of the two armies under his command had already reached the limit of their potential, so much so that they could not advance anymore. In the past, Zhou Zhou had no choice but to leave it for the time being. Now that he suddenly saw that this Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade Potential Advancement Potion could increase their potential to Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade, how could he not be excited? He immediately chatted with her politely for a while. Then, he personally arranged for her to stay at the Gnome Alchemy Workshop and let her focus on making the potential advancement potion here so that those who had exhausted their potential could exchange for it. He did not buy medicinal herbs from the marketplace. Zhou Zhou no longer needed to do such a thing himself. With Linger in charge of this matter, she would use the territory's funds to buy from the marketplace. Then, she would nurture these in the divine herb garden and finally use the finished medicinal herbs to make completed potions. At the same time, in the palace in the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom, the king of the Taiyan Kingdom was also discussing with his subjects about the sudden invasion of their kingdom's territory by the nameless lord in the south. Chapter 333 Black Wind Demon Spear, Zhiwu attacks. Xiao Xian tries to return. The king of the Taiyan Kingdom, Taiyan, was sitting high above on the throne, looking down at the subjects below. Your Majesty, I don't think there's anything to discuss about this. Just let a general lead troops to destroy them. A mere lord of all races has only been in the high continent for half a month and dares to send troops to our Taiyan Kingdom. I'm afraid he doesn't know what the value of life is. In that case, let us teach him a lesson. A fog monster covered in scarlet fog and wearing a scarlet official uniform with a blood-colored horn on its head and 3 eyes stood up and snorted. He was one of the military affairs ministers of the Taiyan Kingdom. In its early years, it had conquered many territories for the Taiyan Kingdom and had worked hard. Later on, he was severely injured before retiring and becoming a civil servant. I think so too. Why should a mere lord of the inferior human race worry us so much? We can just kill them casually. We can't underestimate him. Since that human lord could defeat East Demon City and kill the East Demon Lord head-on, he has at least 200,000 troops under him. Moreover, the strongest among them should have reached the diamond tier. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do this. If we want to eliminate this disaster, we have to be serious. Your Majesty, I'm willing to lead the army to destroy them. Your Majesty, let me do it. Your Majesty, let me deal with him. Facing a small, human lord, none of the Scarlet Generals felt that the other party was very difficult to deal with. They took the initiative to volunteer. Taiyan nodded slightly. His gaze swept around and finally landed on a 3-meter-tall general with a green and ferocious face and fangs in his mouth. He was wearing black armor. Zhiwu, I'll let you deal with that little lord. Taiyan said softly. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Even the black-armored general was a little surprised. Many scarlet officials looked puzzled. This was because the Zhiwu that King Taiyan was talking about was not any other normal scarlet general. It was one of the 3 extraordinary tier heroes of the Taiyan Kingdom, the Black Wind Demon Spear, Zhiwu. Of course, it also had a simple title because the other party would appear too crazy once they started killing on the battlefield. Mad Spear, Zhiwu. Let a scarlet hero that was like a pillar of the country deal with a lord of the human race who had only developed for half a month? What was His Majesty thinking? Wasn't he thinking too highly of the other party? Your Majesty, the battle on the main battlefield is not over yet. Even though the Aurora Kingdom is about to die, they still have the strength to breathe. General Zhou will stay in the capital. He can still provide support on the front battlefield if the battle in front changes. There's no need to use General Zhou to deal with a lord of all races of the human race, right? A green-faced old man whose body was trembling slightly walked out and said respectfully. He was one of the 2 prime ministers of the Taiyan kingdom. His name was Han Sa. Because he often gave advice to the king and plotted against the state, he was deeply trusted by the king. Therefore, he was privately respected by his subjects as the elderly lord of His Majesty, Taiyan. However, at this moment, this elder yes words in the past did not make his king change his mind. No need. The battle at the front line is not so tense. The Aurora Kingdom is surrounded by enemies on 3 sides now. There's nothing they can do. It's fine to let General Zhou go. Moreover, in comparison, that lord of all races of the human race rose too suddenly. This king feels that something is wrong. In order to avoid accidents, it's better to be serious. Taiyan waved his hand and said. When the ministers heard this, they wanted to say something to persuade the king to change his mind, but after thinking about it, they realized that there was nothing wrong with His Majesty's words. In the end, they could only say nothing. Your Majesty, then what should I lead? How many soldiers should I lead? Seeing that no one said anything, Zhou asked his own question. In the Taiyan kingdom, other than some generals who could train special soldier types independently, the other generals did not have military power. More than 90% of the military power was in the hands of King Taiyan. Therefore, even though Zhou was a scarlet hero, he still had to ask the king for help when sending troops out to conquer. The Faceless Corpse King army is still idle in the army outside the capital. Bring the Faceless Corpse King army to deal with the enemy. The king of Taiyan pondered for a few seconds and said. The ministers were surprised again. The Faceless Corpse King Corpse army had a total of 500,000 Faceless Corpse soldiers. Using so many soldiers to deal with a mere human lord, no matter how sudden the other party's rise wasn't he too careful? However, thinking about how it was said that His Majesty had some precognition ability, perhaps he cared so much about the other party because the other party was really strong in His Majesty's precognition, so he sent so many soldiers. Thinking of this, they originally wanted to persuade him, but they stopped. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll go now. Zhou did not think too much about it and immediately accepted the order. Go on. The king of Taiyan nodded. When Zhou heard this, he did not hesitate at all. After bidding farewell to the king, he turned around and left the palace. Blazing Sun City. After Zhou sent Master Luoli to the gnome alchemy workshop, he walked towards the warehouse while thinking about what else he had not done. Suddenly, he thought of something and muttered to himself. My Blazing Sun Desert is already a white platinum tier regional territory. It's almost a diamond tier regional territory. It seems a little inappropriate to call it the Blazing Sun Desert again. Let me think, let's call it Blazing Sun Territory. Thinking of this, Zhou immediately opened the regional information of the Blazing Sun Desert and changed it to the Blazing Sun Territory. After changing his name, he had unknowingly walked to the warehouse. Zhou asked the warehouse manager if someone had sent something over just now. After knowing where it was, Zhou entered the warehouse and successfully obtained the storage ring containing the corpses of 10,000 honorable subjects. His consciousness entered and realized that this ring was a total of 1,000 cubic meters. The corpses of the 10,000 honorable subjects were neatly arranged inside. Moreover, the white platinum tier and diamond tier corpses had already been separated. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou first walked out of the warehouse and called over 1,000 soldiers. Then, he took out 10 yellow gold tier advanced grade Conqueror's blast furnaces and placed them on a flat ground. Then, he took out the corpses of the 10,000 honorable subjects from his spatial ring and began to use the Conqueror's blast furnace to retrieve the loots. He was busy for about 2 hours. All 10,000 honorable subject corpses had been extracted. Zhou Zhou successfully obtained 9,000 diamond tier aurora crystals and 1,000 extraordinary tier aurora crystals. Zhou Zhou's face was almost crooked from smiling when he saw so many aurora crystals. One had to know that 10 diamond aurora crystals and corresponding auxiliary building materials could build a diamond tier elementary grade aurora tower. Among so many diamond tier aurora crystals, he could forge a total of 900 diamond tier elementary grade aurora towers as long as there were enough other materials, even if the extraordinary tier aurora crystals were excluded. This was comparable to 900 extraordinary tier combatants. However, the materials were a problem. Materials that could forge the diamond tier aurora kingdom tower were quite rare. Even if he had the marketplace behind him, he might not be able to gather too many sets of building materials in a short period of time. This was easy to say. In any case, he was going to the Aurora Kingdom tomorrow. At that time, he would just sell it to the Aurora Kingdom. He would not ask for much. 10 sets of 8 would be enough. He would slowly save the rest at the marketplace. The things sold at the marketplace were cheaper after all. But it's troublesome without the white platinum tier aurora crystal. Looks like I can only give Liya 1,000 diamond tier aurora crystals tomorrow. Zhou Zhou thought. My lord. At this moment, an excited voice sounded in the distance. Zhou Zhou was stunned. He looked towards the source of the sound. 2 figures, one big and one small, were rushing towards him. They were Xiao Xian and Luo Feng. Chapter 334 Xiao Xian's Blessing of the God of Fortune. Violet Cloud Divine Technique. My lord. My master and I just returned from outside. After little Xiao Xian ran over, he immediately held Zhou Zhou's hand and said affectionately. Did you have fun? Zhou Zhou smiled and stroked little Xiao Xian's hair. He also liked this little guy with the celestial appearance very much. They were the only 2 people with the celestial appearance in this territory after all. Zhou Zhou now felt like a hero cherishing a hero. My lord, why do I feel like we have similar auras? Just like we're as close as family. Xiao Xian looked at Zhou Zhou in surprise. I'm your lord and your most trustworthy big brother. Of course we're very close. Zhou Zhou smiled. Xiao Xian thought for a moment and nodded seriously. At this moment, Luo Feng also walked in front of him. Greetings my lord. Luo Feng said respectfully. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Then, he looked at him in surprise. You've advanced. Yes, I'm already a diamond tier intermediate grade martial artist. Luo Feng looked a little unnatural, but he still nodded. What happened? Why did your strength suddenly increase so quickly? Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to my disciple, Xiao Xian. He accidentally brought me into the cave abode of an extraordinary tier martial artist. My strength advanced by leaps and bounds with the enlightenment left behind by that extraordinary tier senior. It increased from white platinum tier advanced grade to diamond tier intermediate grade. In addition, I also obtained that senior's martial arts inheritance. His martial arts strength is no longer the same as before. These items, including the inheritance and the martial arts inheritance, should have belonged to Xiao Xian. However, that senior Violet Cloud's inheritance had the strength requirements and inheritance time requirements. At the very least, it could only be accepted by white platinum tier martial artists. Xiao Xian could not obtain it at that time. If he did not take it, the ruins would quickly close permanently. In the end, I could only take it for him. Zhou Zhou nodded. His sixth senses was astonishing, and his perception was already extraordinary tier. He could sense that the other party was indeed not lying. Moreover, if there was really a strength requirement and time limit, this inheritance was indeed useless to Xiao Xian. It was good that Luo Feng accepted it. They were all on the same side anyway. Since you have benefited from Xiao Xian, you have to protect and guide Xiao Xian in the future. Otherwise, he'll be letting you down with your strength and martial arts inheritance. Zhou Zhou said. Yes, my lord. Luo Feng smiled bitterly. He was a proud person. Originally, he would not feel too burdened about teaching Xiao Xian no matter how talented he was. However, he suddenly felt a lot of pressure on his shoulders because of this matter. Don't feel pressured. Just focus on teaching. Zhou Zhou knew what he was thinking when he saw him like this. He looked at the other party's weapon. He realized that it was still the white platinum tier advanced grade weapon from before. Therefore, he flipped his right hand, and a sharp weapon that looked like a sword and a saber appeared in his hand. It was the Wasp King Blood Stinger he had obtained from the red-eyed Blood Wasp Lord. This is a diamond tier intermediate grade weapon. It's suitable for you to use at this stage. Take it. Protect and teach Xiao Xian well in the future. Towards the end, Zhou Zhou could not help but remind him again. This was a talent with potential at the true god tier. He was really a little worried. If not for the fact that he was usually too busy, he would have wanted to keep him and teach him himself. Yes, my lord. Luo Feng nodded seriously. Little Xiao Xian stood between the two of them at this moment, his eyes shining as he listened to the two of them speak. He did not make any sound. After Zhou Zhou sent Luo Feng away, he looked down at Xiao Xian. He could not help but laugh when he saw his obedient appearance. How was your lessons with Luo Feng? Master is very good to me. Moreover, the master can be very handsome and righteous sometimes. Xiao Xian said. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. He agreed that there was a sense of justice. It was just that he was a little arrogant towards outsiders. However, his arrogance did not seem to have any room to play against him and Xiao Xian. In the future, you shouldn't just learn martial arts. You should also be educated. Tomorrow, I'll bring you to Elder Zheng's place. Elder Zheng will specially take out an hour every morning to teach you human morals and knowledge. Can I not go to school? In terms of martial arts, I already feel that there are many things I can learn that I can't even learn. Xiao Xian immediately felt guilty. Elder Zheng was once the prime minister of a country and is now the vice city lord of our blazing sun city. Many people want to join him and become his disciple. Why are you showing off? Zhou Zhou glared at him. Then, he looked at the other party's young face and said gently. I know you're extremely talented in martial arts. But martial arts is not the only thing in a person's life. I hope you can become a person with both civil and military skills. Then you'll see more in your life. At that time, my cultivation for you will not be in vain. I'll learn from Grandpa Zheng. Thank you, my lord. Xiao Xian was talented, intelligent, and sensible. He could naturally hear the serious concern in Zhou Zhou's voice. This made his heart warm, and he immediately nodded seriously in agreement. Zhou Zhou smiled. Then, he saw him take out a spatial ring and hand it to him. My lord. This is the description of that senior's martial arts manual and his wealth. I already have the martial arts manual, and I don't need the mist core, so I want to give it to my lord. After saying that, he looked at Zhou Zhou expectantly. Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. However, he still took it with a smile. He took a rough look. The martial arts manual was the Violet Cloud Divine Technique. It was an epic tier advanced grade martial arts manual. It was considered the highest level martial arts manual Zhou Zhou had ever seen. Beside him was a thick stack of Dan Yuanzi's notes. Just as Xiao Xian had said, it recorded Dan Yuanzi, who was the owner of the Violet Cloud Divine Technique's annotations to the Violet Cloud Divine Technique and some other martial arts cultivation experience. Lastly, there were 700 to 800 extraordinary tier mist cores and 5 to 6 epic tier mist cores. Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. This gift was really quite a lot. I'll accept this gift. Zhou Zhou did not refuse. This martial arts manual was indeed useful to him. He thought for a moment and took out 1 6-armed scythe, 1 shadowless wings, and 10 portions of blood honey sweet cake for Xiao Xian. The first 2 were both practical and could be played as toys. The latter was a top-grade dessert. A child of Xiao Xian's age should like it. He still had the blood honey royal cake. However, that dessert was even more useful and it was not good to give it to him now. As expected, Xiao Xian's eyes immediately lit up when he saw this gift. His gaze stopped and it landed on the 6-armed scythe and the shadowless wings. Take it and play with it. Zhou Zhou smiled. Thank you, my lord. After Xiao Xian took it, he immediately went to play. Little Xiao Xian has talent, blessing of the god of fortune. Letting him travel around with Luo Feng every day seems to be a good choice now. I can let him learn martial arts from Feng Luo after he becomes a yellow gold tier martial artist. Zhou Zhou thought as he watched him leave. Then, he walked towards the shelter of the goddess of life. He naturally did not forget that he still had a Holy Spirit tier scarlet crystals. Chapter 335 Violet Cloud Divine Technique. Zhou Zhou looked at the Violet Cloud Divine Technique again as he walked. Martial Arts Manual, Violet Cloud Divine Technique, Secret Manual Quality, Epic Tier Advanced Grade, Cultivation Effect 1, Purple Chi from the East. The deeper the realm of the Violet Cloud Divine Technique cultivator, the younger their appearance. Moreover, they can eliminate all illnesses and be immune to all poisons, making their bodies healthier. Cultivation Effect 2, Violet Cloud True Gust. The true chi in your body can be converted into Violet Cloud True Gust. The Violet Cloud True Gust is incomparably fierce. When it enters a life form's body, it can shatter their internal organs. Even if you don't die for a while, if you can't remove the remaining Violet Cloud True Gust in your body in 3 days, the enemy will definitely have their internal organs destroyed by the violent Violet Cloud True Gust and die. Cultivation Effect 3, Violet Cloud Divine Technique Protection. When a cultivator of the Violet Cloud Divine Technique encounters an enemy's attack, the True Gust in his body can automatically protect him. His body can be invulnerable to swords and spears. At the same time, he will not be affected by low-level elementals. When he is injured, he can circulate the Violet Cloud Divine Technique and quickly recover from his injuries. Cultivation Effect 4, Violet Cloud Flying Immortal. A cultivator of the Violet Cloud Divine Technique can release Violet Cloud True Gust under his feet and form a Violet Cloud Astral Cloud to fly. The speed and weight depends on the number and strength of the Violet Cloud True Gust released. Cultivation Effect 5, Purple Chi 3000 km. A cultivator of the Violet Cloud Divine Technique can release Violet Cloud True Gust from afar and turn into an endless purple chi to attack enemies in the distance. The distance and damage depends on the strength and number of Violet Cloud True Gust's output. It can extend one's lifespan, delay aging, make one immune to all poisons, prevent illnesses from happening, treat injuries, fly, protect one's body, and fight. It's an all-round good cultivation technique. Zhou Zhou praised. Little Xiao Xian was indeed a talent with his true god tier potential. Even though he had yet to reach the true god tier, he had already begun to give back to him. Then, he did not think too much about it and learned it directly. A moment later, Zhou Zhou arrived at the shelter of the Goddess of Life and successfully converted the Holy Spirit level scarlet crystals in his hand into a Holy Spirit level Faith Divine crystal. After that, he went straight to the Night Temple. With the heroic spirit token given by Temple Lord Bai He, Zhou Zhou successfully entered the Night Temple. Then, he quickly found Rob, who was working at his office through asking others. Why are you here? Why? Do you want to use the other hero inheritance on you? Rob said in surprise when he saw Zhou. I might have a way to revive a hero by consuming some treasures. Therefore, I thought of the heroic seniors of the Heroic Spirit Hall. That's why I wanted to come over and discuss it with you first. Zhou went straight to the point. Rob was already stunned. You said that you can revive a hero in some way now? He was surprised. His expression was a little strange. Zhou acknowledged. Where did you hear this method from? Don't tell me you were deceived. Even the price of reviving ordinary people is quite high, let alone an existence with a fate recognized by the supreme will. Seeing that Zhou was not joking, Rob straightened his mentality and frowned slightly. Don't worry, I'm not deceived. If you don't believe me, you can give me a relic of a heroic spirit below the diamond tier intermediate grade. I need it as a medium to revive heroes. We'll know if it's true after giving it a try. Zhou said. Rob looked at Zhou and did not speak for a moment. He still did not believe it. No choice. Even their night temple could not revive a hero. Yet a new human lord who had just arrived in the high continent suddenly ran in front of him and said that he could already do something that they could not do for tens of thousands of years. Who would suddenly believe this? However, Zhou's identity was a little special after all. Rob thought for a moment and decided to try to believe him for once. You have to be responsible for what you said. Rob stood up and said. Why should I take responsibility? I'm not here to harm you. If you really don't believe me, I'll just revive the human heroes from other places. It's not easy to find the hero inheritance, but isn't it easy to find the relics of heroes? Zhou said fearlessly. Rob could not help but raise his eyebrows seeing how confident he was. I'll go find the temple lord. Sit here for a while. After saying that, Rob walked out of the office. Zhou was not in a hurry. He found a place to sit down and sized up the place where Rob worked. The windows were bright and clean, and there were a few well-tailored green potted plants. It looked a little refreshing. A moment later. Rob was back. Come with me. The teacher is waiting for you in the conference room. He said. Okay. Zhou acknowledged. Then, the two of them went all the way to the meeting room. Then, they saw Bai He quietly standing by the window with his back facing them, looking at the scarlet night sky outside. Teacher, I brought the Lord of the Blazing Sun over. Rob said. Bai He nodded and turned around to look at Zhou. At this moment, Bai He was different from the first time Zhou saw him. He was not wearing the black ferocious armor. Instead, he was wearing a white robe, looking like a Confucian general. Greetings, Temple Lord. Zhou said respectfully. You said you have a way to revive the hero. Can you tell me in detail? Bai He smiled. There's the shelter of the goddess of life in my territory. There's a cardinal in the shelter. She can release the great resurrection spell to revive life. Zhou said. There was nothing to hide. It was not like he was cheating. Bai He and Rob immediately fell silent. Neither of them was an ordinary person. They naturally knew how high a cardinal who mastered the great resurrection spell was in the eyes of the goddess of life. The great resurrection spell was the most famous ability of the goddess of life. Among the countless divine arts mastered by the gods, there were only a few that were comparable to the great resurrection spell. It was no exaggeration to say that a cardinal of the goddess of life who had mastered the great resurrection spell was almost equivalent to a holy son or holy maiden of a sect. He did not expect such an existence to be hidden in this lord's territory. There's a price, right? After a moment of silence. Bai He asked. Yes, the price is 1 Holy Spirit level faith divine crystal and a large number of mist cores. I also worked hard and expended countless efforts to obtain it. Zhou Zhou said. His words were naturally fake. Even though the number of Holy Spirit faith divine crystals he obtained was almost small, he did not deliberately search for them and obtain 3. As for the mist core, he had casually made it up. His goal was just to exchange for more benefits for himself. Bai He and Rob did not suspect anything. The two of them knew how precious the Holy Spirit level faith divine crystal was. Coupled with the mist cores, they might really be able to get the goddess of life to revive a hero. Can any hero be revived? Rob could not help but ask. Now, we can only revive heroes who were diamond tier intermediate grade or below when they were alive. My strength will increase in the future. Zhou Zhou said. The conference room was silent for a while. What do you want? Bai He asked. Just give me some more heroic spirit inheritance. 1 or 2 isn't too little, 8 or 10 isn't too much. Zhou Zhou said shamelessly. Chapter 336 Immortal Divine Medicine Doctor, Lu Kaier. Lu Kaier and Bai He. Zhou Zhou's expression immediately made Bai He and Rob speechless. 1 or 2 isn't too little, 8 or 10 isn't too much. Did he think that the heroic spirit inheritance was cabbage? The heroic spirit inheritance needs to be discussed. Whether it works or not depends on the outcome of the meeting. But I promise you, as long as you can really revive the hero, I will give you a reward equivalent to the epic tier hero inheritance at the very least. Bai He pondered for a few seconds and said. Okay. Zhou Zhou agreed decisively. He felt that this was already very good. If he asked for more, he felt that he would go for wool and come home shorn. Then let's go to the heroic spirit hall now. The 3 of them looked at each other and Bai He said in a low voice. Zhou Zhou and Rob nodded. The 3 of them immediately rushed towards the heroic spirit hall. In front of the heroic spirit hall. When Zhou Zhou and the others arrived, they still saw the Lord Guardian of the Hidden Sea guarding this place conscientiously. Greetings, Temple Lord. When the Lord Guardian of the Hidden Sea saw Bai He, he immediately bowed to him. Then, he looked at Zhou Zhou and Rob in surprise. Why, are you here together? He asked doubtfully. Open the door. Bai He did not explain and said directly. The Lord Guardian of the Hidden Sea did not say anything else seeing Bai He's calm expression. He immediately asked the soldiers behind him to open the door of the hall. After the 3 of them walked in, Bai He led the 2 of them for a while before arriving at a heroic spirit. This heroic spirit was a young female hero. She had fair skin and looked cute, looking like a young girl. Even though she was wearing a white coat, it could not hide her proud figure. It was as huge as a loli. This thought subconsciously appeared in Zhou Zhou's mind. Then, he quickly chased this thought out of his mind. Can you revive her? Bai He asked solemnly. Zhou Zhou did not say anything. Instead, he looked at her life. Epic tier hero, immortal divine medicine doctor, immortal divine medicine doctor, Lu Kaier. It was said that this person had a phenomenon when she was born. When she was born, all the medicinal herbs in their herb garden emitted a medicinal fragrance. Moreover, many medicinal herbs that should still be growing rapidly matured. Later on, she displayed a strong interest in pharmaceutical science. Her family was quite extraordinary. Seeing that his daughter had such hobbies and talents, they sent her to the Night Temple's medical department without a word and made her become the disciple of an epic tier elementary grade doctor. Lu Kaier did not disappoint. Soon, the great doctor unearthed her doctor talent. It was said that not only could Lu Kaier accelerate the growth of the medicinal herbs through careful care of them, she also seemed to have a divine-level talent in pharmacology. She learned all the prescriptions and understood them in no time. Moreover, other doctors memorized by rote learning, but Lu Kaier could directly understand the pharmacology inside the prescription. She could also modify them according to her knowledge reserves to perfect the prescription. Later on, she only studied for a year before she reached the yellow gold tier and created many very useful prescriptions. After that, Lu Kai'er chose to join the Night Temple and fight for the human race at the border of the abyss to treat the injured soldiers at the border of the abyss. During this period, Lu Kai'er's improvement was even more visible to the naked eye during this period. In less than a year, she had reached the Diamond Tier elementary grade. Moreover, she had developed an extremely powerful talent. She used this opportunity to master the hero slot and become a hero. That talent was to be able to write extremely targeted personal prescriptions according to the illness and injuries of the patient or injured. Which meant, at this moment, she had completely broken free from the restrictions of books and reached the realm of a great doctor. Everyone knew that she was only lacking promotional energy to become an epic tier doctor. As long as there was enough promotion energy, she could advance to an epic tier doctor with a thought. However, just as such a genius doctor was about to rise, an accident happened. During the process of treating the injured on the battlefield, a formless demon disguised as a human injured person suddenly revealed killing intent when Lu Kai'er approached and wanted to save it. It crushed her heart with its claw and killed her. Even though this formless demon was burned to ashes by others after that, Lu Kai'er was still dead. The human race had lost a talent. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder after reading it. A life profession hero. Such a life hero was extremely rare even in the entire heroic spirit hall. Finally, he looked at Lu Kai'er's strength before she died. Diamond Tier elementary grade. It was within the range of resurrection. She can be resurrected. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. But we need relics. It's fine as long as there are relics of Lu Kai'er's aura when she was alive. He added. He flipped his right hand, and an exquisite emerald green jade brush appeared in his hand. He handed it to Zhou Zhou. This is Lu Kai'er's favorite brush when she was alive. It's also the brush she often used to write prescriptions. It should be able to be used as a medium for resurrection. He said. Zhou Zhou took it and looked at it twice before putting it away. Then, he nodded at He. I'll go back and let that cardinal take a look. He said. Okay. He nodded, his usually calm light red eyes actually filled with anticipation. Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. However, he was too embarrassed to gossip. The three of them did not stay any longer and walked out of the heroic spirit hall. After He left, Zhou Zhou could not help but ask Rob, Temple Lord Bai seems to have a deep relationship with Lu Kai'er, don't let your imagination run wild. Rob glared at Zhou Zhou before carefully turning to look in the direction where He had left. After seeing that He had completely disappeared at the end of the road, he secretly sent a voice transmission. Teacher is indeed related to Lu Kai'er, but this is not important. What's important is that teacher is related to Lu Kai'er's teacher. Originally, Lu Kai'er was handed over to teacher to be cared for, but she died on the abyss battlefield. Even though it's normal for accidents to happen on the battlefield, her teacher hasn't seen teacher since. Teacher has always felt guilty about this. For a long time after that, teacher tried to find a way to make up for it, but it was useless. I didn't expect you to be able to revive Lu Kai'er. What's the best way to make up for it? Of course, it's to let her beloved disciple come back to life and stand in front of her again. In addition, Lu Kai'er is indeed a little medical genius of the human race. Resurrecting her is a good thing for the entire human race. Did you see the smile that flashed across teacher's face just now? Teacher never smiles like that. Go and revive her now. As long as you can really revive her. Teacher won't disappoint you. Rob said. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. He was looking forward to it. Then, he bade farewell to Rob and rushed straight to the shelter of the Goddess of Life. Chapter 337 Lu Kai'er Resurrected. In the shelter of the Goddess of Life. Zhou found Carol Moali and told her what had happened. Carol Moali nodded. Seeing this, Zhou handed the medium to her. Carol Moali took the medium and brought Zhou to the statue of the goddess of life. My lord, he'll be carrying out the great resurrection spell ceremony next. During this process, Her Excellency the goddess gaze will descend. At that time, don't do anything to offend her. The divine might is immeasurable. Even I can't interfere with the actions of the goddess. There's more. The goddess' soul will is extremely terrifying. My lord, don't sink into it. However, my lord, you don't have to worry too much. With your soul willpower, you shouldn't fall so easily. Carol Moali said solemnly. Okay. Zhou nodded seriously. Carol Moali nodded too. Then, her gaze landed on the jade brush placed on the stone bed. She raised the scepter in her hand with both hands, closed her eyes, and muttered something. At first, Zhou did not feel anything. But gradually, an invisible pressure suddenly appeared around him. This pressure was different from the bloodline pressure. It did not come from a high-level bloodline creature, but seemed to come from some pressure of the world. It was the pressure of a god spirit. Buzz. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound. Then, Zhou saw the surface of the statue of the goddess of life behind Carol Moali suddenly emit a gentle and rich golden light. This golden light was so strong. In the blink of an eye, the entire temple was enveloped by this golden light. Accompanied by the golden light was the extremely intense pressure of the god spirit law. Zhou's face could not help but turn pale under the pressure of the god spirit nomological laws. Even though he had the Dragon Slayer King's will and the Chaos Will ability at the same time, these two abilities were actually targeting the pressure of the bloodline. They were useless against the nomological pressure that the god spirits brought with them. In his daze, he seemed to see the statue of the goddess of life behind Carol Moali's eyes light up. A pair of usually rigid stone eyes suddenly seemed to have feelings at this moment. He seemed to be looking at Zhou with pity, or rather, at all the living beings in this world, making the life forms feel weak and powerless. They subconsciously wanted to accept the protection of this god spirit. Zhou had a similar feeling at that moment. However, he had the chaos human bloodline with astonishing potential and had many abilities on him. He quickly came back to his senses from this illusion and could not help but break out in cold sweat. It was so terrifying. Was this a god spirit? Even the will that was unintentionally released was enough to make life forms swoon. This was also because his soul foundation was deep and he had many skills, bloodlines, and talent enhancements. If other life forms with weak soul foundation came here, they would probably have already become a believer of the goddess of life after this set of methods. At this moment, the ceremony of the great resurrection spell was still continuing. After Zhou calmed down, he waited for a moment. Finally, the will of the goddess of life completely descended. Zhou remembered Carol Moali's words and did not offend her. He did not even look up at her. He just lowered his head and waited silently. Curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity killed the cat. Zhou repeated to himself. During this period, Zhou felt a terrifying gaze land on him, but it quickly left. After a long time, the terrifying god spirit will finally disappeared in Zhou's perception. The moment this will disappeared, the golden light that covered the entire shelter disappeared. My lord, it's over. A feeble voice sounded. It was Carol Moali. Zhou immediately looked up and saw the pale Carol Moali and the beautiful body of the woman lying quietly on the stone bed in front of her. Zhou ignored Lu Kai'er on the bed. Instead, he went straight to Carol Moali and supported her. How are you? Zhou asked with concern. I am just a little weak. I'll be fine after resting for a day. Carol Moali barely squeezed out a pale smile. Where do you live? I'll send you there. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. My lord, there's no need. Take a look at the resurrected person first. She'll wake up soon. Carol Moeli shook her head. Zhou Zhou did not say anything. He took out a white blanket from his spatial ring and covered the other party's smooth body. Then, he ignored what Carol Moeli said and asked her where she lived before bringing her to rest before returning. When he returned, he saw a petite and cute young girl wearing a white blanket sitting there in a daze. When she heard the sound of him walking, she immediately looked at Zhou Zhou. When she realized that the person who came was a man, she immediately exclaimed in a low voice. Then, she grabbed the blanket on her body tightly, trying her best to expose less of her body. However, her figure was too good, looking even more lusty with it half hidden. Zhou Zhou could not help but gulp. He stopped on the spot and used the object control technique to throw a white dress that he had long prepared. At this moment, he bought it from the ancient clothing shop opened by other players on the marketplace. The clothes had been slightly modified, which was in line with the aesthetic standards of the humans of the high continent. Put on the clothes first. Then I'll tell you everything. Zhou Zhou said. With that, he turned around. Lu Kaier took the clothes and saw Zhou Zhou turn around. Her frightened face immediately relaxed. She looked at Zhou Zhou's back and was no longer nervous. She sized up Zhou Zhou and this place curiously before putting on the clothes unhurriedly. I'm done. Lu Kaier said. Her voice was a little delicate and innocent. Zhou Zhou turned around and saw her standing there quietly in her new clothes. She looked at him curiously, as if she was a little fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. This was how professionals plus hero slots were. Her physical fitness had been baptized by the power of her class and the hero slot. Be it her appearance, figure, or temperament, they had all far exceeded ordinary people. Of course, it still could not compare to Zhou Zhou's celestial appearance. Celestial appearance was a top-notch appearance talent recognized by the Supreme Will. It made Zhou Zhou's appearance, figure, and temperament a level higher than the other party. Moreover, as it was modified, this difference would become wider and wider. Zhou Zhou came in front of her. He looked at her. Attribute information appeared. Chapter 338 Hero Skill, Creation of Herbs. An astounding hero skill. Subject, Lu Kaier, Hero Unit, Hero Title, Immortal Divine Medicine Doctor, Position, Epic Tier Heroes Fate Level, Territory, None, Strength Level, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Ability Overview, a Natural Medical Immortal. She has astonishing talent in medicine and pharmacology. She can master any prescription at a glance and become proficient in it after a while. She can see through the other party's illness at a glance and quickly give a cure. Bloodline, Human Bloodline, Legendary Tier Elementary Grade, 100%, Skills, Talent, Medical Immortal, Talent, Medicine Lady, Hero Skill, All Life Restoration Method, Hero Skill, Creating Herbs, Hero Skill, Suspension of Life, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Medical Theory, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Surgical Theory, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Surgical Practice, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Healing Technique, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Life Potion, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Soul Restoration Potion, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, 7-Day Life Fixing Pill, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Healing Technique, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Limb Continuation, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Soul Fixing Technique, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Tranquilization Technique, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Painless Technique, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Disease Removal Technique, Loyalty, Unable to Check, Potential, Legendary Tier Elementary Grade, Hero Biography, 1, joined the human race's Night Temple and became a disciple of the Holy Light Medical King. Human Race Reputation plus 1000. 2, gradually understood the path of medicine in practice and walked the hero path of the immortal divine medicine doctor. Human race reputation plus 10,000, high continent reputation plus 10. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue. Legendary tier elementary grade human bloodline. As expected of a genius recognized by the entire human race. While Zhou Zhou was looking at her, Lu Kai'er was also looking at him. She looked at Zhou Zhou and suddenly blushed. Why was this person so good-looking? It was as if he was born according to her aesthetic standards, making her unable to help but want to look at this guy. This was the charm of the celestial appearance. No matter what race or life form it was, they could find points that matched their aesthetic standards from the appearance, figure, and temperament of the owner of the celestial appearance. This was also the reason why the owner of the celestial appearance was fascinated by countless life forms. Zhou Zhou quickly noticed her gaze. However, he did not think too much about it. I was invited by the Night Temple to revive you as a lord of all races. He said. What's a lord of all races? Lu Kai'er asked in surprise. The so-called lord of all races, Zhou Zhou also knew that the other party had died before the lord of all races appeared, so he patiently explained everything to her. After a long time, Lu Kai'er, who knew everything, was filled with surprise. So much has happened since I died. She subconsciously touched the place where her heart was. The memory of the formless demon shattering her heart with a claw was still fresh in her mind. However, she revived in the blink of an eye. This feeling was really strange. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly when he heard her words. At the same time, he felt a little strange. Even though what he said was the truth, the other party really believed everything he said. She was really naive. Zhou Zhou sighed. However, being naive was not a bad thing. According to Bai He, simple-minded, was indeed one of the important reasons why many young heroes could comprehend the hero slot. Perhaps it was because of this innocence and sincerity towards the path of medicine that the other party could become a hero at such a young age. He looked at the other party and then at his ability. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Can you treat someone for me? He said. Yes. Lu Kai'er agreed without thinking. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He did not make any requests, nor did he say what payment he would give the other party after he was cured. However, Lu Kai'er agreed without hesitation. This meant that patients were the priority in her heart. She was a true doctor. He did not say anything else and brought her to Wuxia. Greetings, my lord. And this is? Wuxia immediately said respectfully when he saw Zhou Zhou. Then, he looked at Lu Kai'er, who was beside Zhou Zhou, in confusion. This is the doctor hero I invited. Immortal divine medicine doctor, Lu Kai'er. I asked her to take a look at your injuries. Zhou Zhou said. Thank you, my lord. Even though Wuxia did not know the name Immortal Divine Medicine Doctor, he still nodded. Zhou Zhou sighed inwardly. Such a hero actually died in the abyss without even knowing a great general like Wuxia, who had once held power. Fortunately, he had revived her. Perhaps this was the meaning of resurrection. Lu Kai'er had already arrived in front of Wuxia while they spoke. He'll have to trouble the Immortal Divine Medicine Doctor to take action. Wuxia said politely. It's my duty to treat illnesses and save people. Lu Kai'er smiled. Then, she sized him up, her eyes emitting seven-colored light. A moment later. The light dissipated. You were injured by a scarlet hero, right? A scarlet hero with a gun? Lu Kai'er asked. Yes. Wuxia was a little excited. As expected of a doctor hero. She could tell at a glance that he was injured by the Scarlet Hero even without doing anything and could even tell that the other party's weapon. Can it be cured? Zhou Zhou asked. Easy. Lu Kai'er said. Hero skill, creation of herbs. She stretched out her right hand, and wisps of rainbow-colored smoothness appeared in her hand. Then, these 7 colored lights condensed into items that looked like herbs. After a long time, the light dissipated. More than 10 real medicinal herbs that emitted the smell of medicine floated in her palm. Zhou Zhou and Wuxian were stunned when they saw this. This is creating something out of thin air. What kind of astonishing ability is this? If this was in front of some living beings with low standards, they would probably think that this was a creation godlike method. Cook these medicinal herbs 3 times and consume them in the morning, noon, and night. This elder one's injuries will completely recover in a day. Lu Kai'er said. Zhou Zhou and Wuxian were pleasantly surprised. It would only take a day for him to recover. Is this what a Dr. Hero was like? It is indeed much more effective than ordinary treatment methods. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, medical immortal. This decrepit will remember the kindness of the Lord and the medical immortal. Wuxian said gratefully. It's my duty to save people. Moreover, your lord just saved my life, so you don't have to thank me. Lu Kai'er smiled. I still have to thank you. Wuxian insisted. After that, the 3 of them chatted for a while. Lu Kai'er told Wuxian some prescriptions to nourish his body. Then, she and Zhou Zhou left Wu Xin's residence. This is for you. Consider it a consultation fee. Zhou Zhou took out 100 diamond tier mist cores and 1 white platinum tier advanced grade blood honey king cake for the other party. The former was naturally a reasonable consultation fee for a diamond tier hero. The latter was the loot dropped by the yellow gold tier advanced grade red-eyed blood wasps. Zhou Zhou had a lot of this blood honey king cake. Even though the effect was slightly inferior to the blood honey royal cake, it was still a top-grade dessert. I don't want it. You've already saved my life. Lu Kai'er refused to accept this gift. The Night Temple will pay the price for saving you. That's another matter. Zhou Zhou said. Lu Kai'er declined many times. Seeing Zhou Zhou's insistence, she finally accepted it helplessly. When she found out that the blood honey king cake was a dessert, she could not help but open the box on the spot and taste it. In the end, her eyes lit up. It's so sweet. This is so delicious. If you like it, you can come to my place often in the future. Zhou Zhou smiled. Really? Lu Kai'er's eyes lit up. Of course. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. He was still very willing to befriend such Dr. Heroes with powerful healing abilities. Come with me to the Night Temple. Temple Lord Bai and the others are waiting for you. He said. Okay. Lu Kai'er nodded. Then, the 2 of them walked towards the Night Temple one after another. Chapter 339 Empire Tier Combat Class, Army Extermination Night. Night Temple. In the meeting room. Rob's eyes widened when he saw Lu Kai'er. Even the usually calm Bai he was in a daze. Then, he came back to his senses. It's good that you're revived. Your teacher, I, and many others miss you very much. Bai he smiled faintly. Thank you for your concern, teacher. Thank you, the Holy Temple, for paying such a huge price to revive me. Lu Kai'er thanked him. Then, she finally couldn't help but ask, how's my teacher? When your teacher first found out about your death on the battlefield, she was very depressed. She hasn't seen anyone during this period. It was 4 or 5 years before she began to interact with outsiders. Even though we can't see any impact now, we can all tell that she still misses you very much. Bai he said. Lu Kai'er could not help but open her mouth slightly. During her death, her consciousness floated in the river of time in a daze. She did not know how much time had passed. In the outside world. Even though she had been dead for a long time, she felt that she had only slept for a while before waking up personally. Therefore, she did not expect her teacher to be so sad because of her death. She did not think so before, but she immediately became anxious now that she heard Bai He's words. She wanted to go back immediately to see her teacher and tell her that she had come back to life. "Teacher Bai, I want to go back to teacher," Lu Kai said anxiously. "Okay. I'll bring you back." Bai He agreed without hesitation. Then, he walked to an empty space and pulled out the blood-colored sword on his back. Then, he suddenly slashed the space in front of him. Whoosh! The next second, a spatial gap that was more than 10 meters long was cut open by his sword. Then, it was fixed on the spot and slowly repaired at an extremely slow speed. "Let's go." Bai He turned to look at Lu Kai. Lu Kai nodded and was about to run over when she suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Zhou. "I'll be back." With that, she ignored the stunned Zhou and ran straight to Bai He's side. Then, she walked into the spatial rift with Bai He and disappeared. After the two of them disappeared, the spatial rift quickly repaired and returned to its original state. "Tsk tisk. It seems that even though the two of you haven't been together for long, she values you quite a lot." Rob walked to Zhou's side and teased. "I just revived her. How much can she value me?" Zhou rolled his eyes. Rob thought that it made sense and did not say anything else. "Come with me. Teacher has already prepared the benefits you want." Rob changed the topic. "What benefits are they?" Zhou's eyes lit up. "There are two of them. The first benefit is an inheritance slot for an extraordinary tier hero. As for the second one, just come with me." Rob smiled mysteriously. Zhou looked forward to it even more. He did not say anything and followed the other party. After a while, they arrived at a venue. This venue seemed to be a place to train knights. It was very vast and almost endless. Zhou looked over and saw many trainee knights and knight mentors training them. At this moment, Rob brought him to a white-haired old man. "Lord Sangbo," Rob said respectfully. Zhou had also seen this elder one before. When he first came to the Knight Temple, Rob had once brought him to the Knight Training Center and met 6 Knight mentors representing the 6 major Knight sections. This elder one was one of the mentors of the 6 Knight sects. Zhou remembered. The other party seemed to represent the Knight mentors of the main sect. "Greetings, Lord Sangbu." He didn't think too much about it. Zhou bowed to Rob. Sangbu nodded calmly. A long blood-colored scar cut across his eyelid, making his face look a little ferocious. He looked at Zhou and the corners of his mouth twitched, revealing a more friendly, ferocious smile. "The Lord of the Blazing Sun, right? I remember you. I've heard about you. I didn't expect a lord like you, who has only been in the High Continent for half a month, to do something that our human race hasn't done for tens of thousands of years. Tisk, how's that little girl, Kyer now?" he asked. "She's very good. She's already followed Temple Lord Bai back to see her teacher." Zhou said politely. "It's time to go back." Sangbu sighed. Then, he looked at Zhou. "Perhaps the Supreme Will might really have made the right choice to bring you lords of all races to our world." He shook his head with a calm expression. Then, he did not say anything else and brought the two of them to a corner. 105 to 6 meters tall human knights wearing blood-colored armor and holding meteor mace stood neatly. "Greet your future lord." Sangbu looked at the knights and said calmly. "Greetings my lord." The 100 knights roared in unison. There were clearly not many people, but their furious roar shook the entire venue, causing everyone present to involuntarily attract their gazes. When they saw that it was these people, they retracted their gazes enviously and helplessly. Zhou Zhou was also stunned by their voices. Then, he reacted. Could this be the second benefit Temple Lord Bite gave him? Just 100 knights. Who are they looking down on? You might as well give me an epic tier hero inheritance. However, when he saw the information of the 100 human knights, he immediately couldn't move his eyes away. Subject, Zhang Chen, Territory, Knight Temple, Combat Class Name, Army Extermination Knight, Strength Level, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Ability Overview, Empire Level Combat Class from the Knight Temple, Army Extermination Knight. Their race is the Virtuous Titan race. They have been adopted and trained by the Knight Temple since they were young. They have a condescending physique, an indomitable will, and invincible lethality on the battlefield. Every Army Extermination Knight is an incomparable meat grinder on the battlefield. Skills, Talent, Virtuous Titan Race, Empire Tier Combat Talent, Iron-Blooded Combat Body, Empire Tier Combat Talent, War Madman, Empire Tier Combat Skill, Indestructible Blood, White Advanced Grade, Titan Mace Technique, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Self-Restoration, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Diamond Physique, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Spirit Resistance, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Physical Damage Immunity, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Elemental Damage Immunity, Loyalty, 85, Potential, Epic Tier Elementary Grade. Zhou Zhou looked at the attribute information of the other 99 people. He realized that these Army Extermination Knights were all White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade and their potential was also Epic Tier Elementary Grade. Zhou Zhou was completely shocked. Oh my god! What kind of handiwork is this? They directly took out 100 knights with Epic Tier Elementary Grade potential and gave them to him. The potential of a normal reputation rating talent was only Diamond Tier Extraordinary Tier. Talents with Legendary Tier potential were already very rare. This time, he had actually given him 100 Empire Tier Combat Professionals with Epic Tier Elementary Grade potential. Moreover, all of their strength was at the White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade. I'm sorry, Big Boss Bai. I was wrong. I take back what I said earlier. I really like these 100 knights. Zhou Zhou was delighted. Chapter 340 Construction of the Triumphal Arch. Zhao Changshi's Advancement. At the same time, Sangbu also saw the expression on Zhou Zhou's face. These 100 army-breaking knights are Empire-level combat professionals carefully nurtured by our Knight Temple. The investment in them alone has reached hundreds of millions of White Platinum Tier Mist cores. You have to know that there are only 10,000 Army Breaker Knights in all the Knight Temple encampments. They were nurtured with fixed responsibilities. But because of you, we specially sent 100 people to you. How's it going? These 100 Army Extermination Knights and that extraordinary tier hero inheritance. Do you feel like you've suffered a loss in this deal now? Sangbu asked. It's not a loss. I've never felt like I've suffered a loss. Zhou Zhou smiled. If he were to say that he had suffered a loss now, would it not be slapping their faces in front of them? They were his future subordinates after all. He had to give them some face. Moreover, they were indeed worth this price. In that case, if there are still resurrection spots in the future, remember to prioritize our human race. I won't waste my breath on righteousness. I won't give you so much pressure. It's just that heroes are indeed one of the important factors in measuring the strength of a race. If we humans have more heroes, we can also survive better in this dangerous world in the future. Sangbu said. His expression was filled with worry, as if he did not seem to be optimistic about the future. Zhou Zhou did not show anything on the surface and only nodded calmly. If I can revive heroes in the future, I will definitely prioritize reviving human heroes. He was also a human. He was willing to bear this responsibility. Moreover, the Knight Temple had indeed taken care of him a lot because of the dragon-slaying will. If he could help the Knight Temple in the future, he naturally had to help them. Sangbu looked at Zhou Zhou and nodded in relief. After that, the three of them did not say anything else. After Zhou Zhou bade farewell to Sangbu and Rob, he left the night temple with the 100 army extermination knights and found Bai Yun, asking her to get them to join the Blazing Sun army. In the future, Bai Yun, Wu Xian, and the others would be in charge of commanding them to charge. Then, Zhou Zhou returned to the Lord Manor. When he returned to the entrance of the manor, he saw Wu Tu waiting for him. "Come in." Zhou Zhou knew without thinking that the other party was here to give him the latest map. Then, the two of them walked into the Lord Manor and went straight to the meeting hall. In the meeting hall, Zhou Zhou looked at the map in his hand. This map depicted the newly discovered regional territory led by Wu Tu and the Heavenly Army. The regional territories discovered this time were not under the jurisdiction of the kingdom, but the geography of some wilderness territories around Dark Knight Town, Kingdom Beginning City, Red Wasp Town, and other places. This included 6 Black Iron Tier regional territories, 3 Green Bronze Tier regional territories, 2 White Silver Tier regional territories, 2 Yellow Gold Tier regional territories, and 1 White Platinum Tier regional territory. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. He could subdue all these territories tomorrow. After that, he chatted with Wu Tu for a while before Wu Tu left. After Wu Tu left, Zhou Zhou thought about it and confirmed that he had not left anything behind. Then, he returned to his bedroom to rest. At the same time, outside Blazing Sun City, a majestic and tall new golden city gate stood here. It was 500 to 600 meters tall and more than 100 meters wide. Above the city gate was a golden statue. The statue was of a handsome heavenly soldier riding a luxurious heavenly horse carriage, galloping valiantly through the clouds. This triumphal arch has been built after all. As expected of a building of the race. I've benefited a lot from this construction. In front of the triumphal arch, more than 10,000 people were gathered here. Among them were architects, blacksmiths, carpenters, engravers, soldiers, and all kinds of professionals. In front of them, Zhao Changshou looked tired, but his eyes were shining as he looked at the race building. Ever since the Imperial Ancestral Temple, this was the second race building he had handled. The construction time between the two was only a few days apart. It had to be said. As an architect, it was very satisfying to be able to build 2 race buildings in a row. He looked at his stats information. He realized that he had already been upgraded from a Diamond Tier Elementary Grade Architect to a Diamond Tier Advanced Grade Architect. I wonder if I can step into the Extraordinary Tier domain before I die. Zhao Changshou thought to himself. Then, he thought of his lord who could surprise him repeatedly. At this moment, he suddenly felt that he might really be able to achieve this ambition. The next day, Zhou Zhou had just woken up when he found out that not only had Zhao Changshou successfully built the Triumphal Arch, but his architect level had also increased to Diamond Tier Advanced Grade. I heard 2 pieces of good news when I woke up early in the morning. Really good. Zhou Zhou said in satisfaction. Then, he immediately found Zhao Changshou and asked him if he could do anything about the Diamond Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Tower. I've already made some progress towards the Diamond Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Tower. But I still need a day or 2 to study it. Zhao Changshou did not guarantee anything. But even so, Zhou Zhou could not help but look forward to it. The Diamond Tier Elementary Grade Aurora Kingdom Tower could create the lethality of an extraordinary tier. What if it was a Diamond Tier Advanced Grade? Wouldn't it be able to cause damage to extraordinary tier heroes or epic tier experts? He did not say anything else and only gave Zhao Changshou 2 portions of Blood Honey King Cake. These 2 portions of Blood Honey King Cake were enough to allow Zhao Changshou to return to his peak physical state and appearance. It would also increase his basic lifespan by 10 years and 4 years. It could be considered a reward for Zhao Changshou to build the Triumphal Arch. Thank you, my lord. When Zhao Changshou found out about the effect of the Blood Honey King cake, he was immediately shocked. Then, he was so grateful that he wanted to kneel down. Zhou Zhou hurriedly supported him. "Elder Zhao, you don't have to do this. You've worked hard and deserve this reward," he said seriously. In terms of who was working the hardest in the entire territory, other than Zheng Yuanqi and Elder Zheng, who were in charge of daily administrative matters, it would be the person in front of him, Zhao Changshou. Not to mention anything else. Elder Zhao was in charge of the construction planning of the entire Blazing Sun city alone. Elder Zhao was also making arrangements for the new city construction plan that was being carried out recently. This attitude meant that he had to do his best until he died. However, Zhou Zhou did not want his great contributor to die suddenly from exhaustion, so it was necessary to give him 2 portions of Blood Honey King cake. After that, Zhou Zhou and Elder Zhao chatted about the construction plan for a while before arriving at the gate of summoning to summon today's new subjects. A text notification appeared. Prompt: "Do you want to summon immediately?" "Yes." Zhou Zhou looked at the gate of summoning in front of him. The next second, the gate of summoning suddenly lit up with a bright white light. Then, a large number of subjects walked out. After more than half an hour, only then did 725 new subjects walk out of the gate of summoning. "Greetings, my lord," X725. The 725 new subjects said respectfully. "Welcome to Blazing Sun City," Zhou Zhou said. Then, he asked all the professionals to stand up and realized that he had summoned a total of 30 military professionals. Among them were 1 yellow gold tier intermediate grade architect, 1 yellow gold tier intermediate grade blacksmith, 1 yellow gold tier intermediate grade merchant, and 1 yellow gold tier intermediate grade engraver. There were also 3 yellow gold tier elementary grade tailors, 2 yellow gold tier elementary grade martial artists, and 3 yellow gold tier elementary grade adventurers. The rest were green bronze and black iron tier life professionals and combat professionals. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Even though he did not summon as many professionals as yesterday, however, it was not much different. At this moment, a light lit up in the distance. It was the light of the teleportation array. Bai Yun and the others were back. "I can test the effect of the triumphal arch." Zhou Zhou's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 341: The shocking effect of the triumphal arch. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou immediately rushed to the location of the spatial teleportation array. Soon, he arrived at the location. At this moment, Bai Yun, Wu Xian, and the others were managing the soldiers. Groups of soldiers landed from the black ghost above the spatial teleportation array and took the initiative to arrange their formation. 100,000 odd soldiers of the Blazing Sun Army and the Monster Army had already lined up neatly in no time. "Greetings, my lord." Bai Yun and Wu Xian walked over and said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly and looked at Wu Xian. A smile quickly appeared on his face. At this moment, Wu Xin's hair was pitch black, his eyes were black and white, and he was bright and energetic. There were no wrinkles on his face at all. He was full of energy. How could one say that he looked old at all? He was clearly a young man. Moreover, his body was filled with aura. Clearly, his previous injuries had mostly healed and his strength had recovered. Zhou Zhou looked at Wu Xin's strength. As expected, he realized that his strength had already recovered to Diamond Tier Advanced Grade. This strength. It was Wu Xian at his peak. Zhou Zhou was quite satisfied. A Diamond Tier Advanced Grade hero. This strength was already enough to fight and even kill extraordinary tier normal experts head-on. Looks like I have to call Elder Wu Brother Wu in the future. Zhou Zhou said deliberately to Wu Xian. "My lord, if you want to call me that." Wu Xian laughed heartily. Then, he cupped his fists and said respectfully. "Thank you, my lord, for the blood honey royal cake. That pastry is really magical. Not only is it delicious, but it can also make an old man like me return to my youngest peak. Wu Xian sighed with emotion. Originally, when he first came to Blazing Sun City, he only wanted to use this place as a retirement place. He did not expect to recover his youth. With this kindness, he naturally could not still harbor the thoughts of retirement he had in the past. Otherwise, he would feel that he had let his lord down. Zhou Zhou nodded and asked, "Brother Wu, how are your injuries?" Since Wu Xian himself agreed, Zhou Zhou would really call him Brother Wu. Moreover, it would be a little awkward for him to address a young man as Elder Wu. It's basically healed. I should completely recover after eating the medicine left behind by the divine medicine doctor, Lu Kaier. When the time comes, I can obtain promotion energy normally and advance my strength. Wu Xian sighed. Previously, he could not even obtain promotion energy to advance by killing fog monsters because of the injuries in his body. Now, after his injuries completely recovered, he could continue to advance again. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. He was looking forward to it. Wu Xian was now at Diamond Tier Advanced grade. Once he advanced again, he would have the standard combat strength of an extraordinary tier hero. In other words, it was a top-notch kingdom-level combat power. When the time comes, even if the Taiyan Kingdom sent extraordinary tier heroes over, Wu Xian could also rely on his own strength to fight it alone. How's the situation in Kingdom Beginning City? Did the Taiyan Kingdom send troops over? Not yet. Bai Yun shook her head. Don't let your guard down. Kingdom Beginning City was once one of the important territories of the Taiyan Kingdom. The Taiyan Kingdom won't give it up so easily. Zhou Zhou said. Yes. Bai Yun and Wu Xian said respectfully. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. You just got back and don't know yet. Elder Zhao has already built the triumphal arch. He turned around and smiled. The two of their eyes lit up. The two of them had long heard about the triumphal arch from Zhou Zhou. They knew the effect of the triumphal arch and had been thinking about when it would be built. Now, it was finally built. Bring the soldiers and follow me through the triumphal arch outside the city gate. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. Yes. Bai Yun and Wu Xian were filled with anticipation. Then, they immediately led the soldiers out of Blazing Sun City and arrived in front of the triumphal arch. Everyone looked up at this building of the race and praised its majesty in their hearts. Zhou Zhou was no exception. Even though he had already seen it yesterday. However, it was nighttime at that time. The night more or less affected the feeling it gave off. The sunlight during the day shone on the surface of this building, making the triumphal arch look like a god or a saint, making it look even more eye-catching. As the Lord of Blazing Sun City, Zhou Zhou was the first to walk into the triumphal arch. Unfortunately, perhaps because he had just advanced to the yellow gold tier elementary grade and the promotion energy in his body had yet to accumulate to 80%, he did not trigger the 50% chance of directly obtaining the promotion energy that was lacking in directly obtaining the strength to break through. However, Zhou Zhou did not mind. He turned around and looked at the more than 100,000 soldiers behind him, asking them to start walking into the triumphal arch. The time limit for the triumphal arch was 1 month. Which meant, as long as he and his military professional subjects passed through the triumphal arch within a month after returning victorious from the battle, there was a chance of triggering the construction effect of the triumphal arch. If more than a month passed, there was no way to trigger it. It was less than 24 hours since he took down Kingdom Beginning City and the other regional territories yesterday. He could naturally trigger the triumphal arch. Soon. The first 1,000 soldiers walked in front of the triumphal arch and walked past it with anticipation and nervousness. Just as they passed the triumphal arch, auras continuously erupted from these soldiers immediately. These soldiers felt their strength and realm slightly and were immediately overjoyed. I've broken through to the green bronze tier intermediate grade. Am already a yellow gold tier advanced grade. My strength has also broken through to the white silver tier elementary grade. I am white platinum tier elementary grade. Many of the soldiers cheered. However, they were very disciplined. Even though they were happy about the breakthrough, they did not do anything overboard. They obediently passed through the triumphal arch and stood neatly in the distance, waiting for the other brothers to trigger the triumphal arch. Teams of 1,000 soldiers passed through the triumphal arch, accompanied by more soldiers breaking through. Half an hour later, all the soldiers walked through the triumphal arch. Even Auguste, Maris, Wuxia, and Bai Yun made a trip. In the end, only Nazario did not pass through the triumphal arch. Zhou and the others looked over. Nazario slowly flew to the triumphal arch and flew over without hesitation. The next second, an invisible airwave erupted from its body and swept in all directions. Then, surging and scorching fire elemental energy spewed out of its body. In the blink of an eye, the world turned fiery red. Everyone could vaguely see that there seemed to be an illusory reflection in the sky. In the illusory reflection, a fire mountain range appeared. In the middle of the fire mountain range was an extremely tall active volcano. The hot and sticky magma flowed inside and outside the volcano, revealing a bright red color. In the center of the active volcano, there was also Nazario bathing in magma. At this moment, changes happened again. Hundreds of fire elemental rivers that looked like large rivers were born out of thin air. Then, they surged into Nazario's body like rivers returning to the sea. During this process, Nazario's aura became more and more astonishing, and its body was rapidly growing. 200 meters. 300 meters. 400 meters. 500 meters. In the end, Nazario's body grew from more than 120 meters to more than 570 meters before stopping. It threw its head backwards and roared towards the sky, as if announcing to the world that it had become stronger again. Chapter 342 Nazario's Advancement. Proof of Legion. A text notification appeared in front of Zhou. Congratulations, your pet, Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction, has broken through to the white platinum tier elementary grade. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction's magma dragon breath has been strengthened. The dragon might of the Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction has been strengthened. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction has comprehended the growth-type draconic spell, extraordinary tier fire elemental control, from Draconic Magic Mastery. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction has comprehended the growth-type draconic spell, Meteorite Descent, from Draconic Magic Mastery. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction has awakened Summoning Magma Dragon Slave from the Inheritance of the Dragons. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction has awakened the Volcano Territory from the Inheritance of the Dragons. The Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction's Epic Tier Elemental Immunity and Epic Tier Physical Immunity Awakening rate has increased from 30% to 50%. Nazario has also advanced. Zhou could not hide the joy on his face. Nazario had always been the strongest combatant under his command, and he was also a hero with a low-tier deity-level hero fate level slot. It had broken through to the white platinum tier elementary grade. Its combat strength was probably comparable to or even surpassed those normal race heroes at the extraordinary tier. At this moment, Nazario flew over and expressed its intimacy and excitement to Zhou. The surrounding people looked at this 500-meter tall behemoth with surprise in their eyes. Many people could not help but feel fear in their eyes. No choice. It was too big. A mountain suddenly landed beside them with a bang. Who wouldn't be afraid? Fortunately, they all knew that Nazario was one of them, so even though they were a little afraid, they did not flee in all directions. Zhou could not help but smile when he saw how excited Nazario was. He flew up and came in front of Nazario, touching its forehead. You'll be even stronger in the future. Zhou smiled. Nazario growled in agreement. After a while, Bai Yun walked over with a list. My lord. This is the specific data of this soldier's breakthrough. Please take a look. She handed the list to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou took it and looked at it. This trip to the Triumphal Arch. Other than Nazario's breakthrough, there were also 21,345 people who had advanced to the Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade and Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade. 32,341 people advanced from Black Iron Tier to Green Bronze Tier. 23,659 people advanced to White Silver Tier. 10,023 people advanced to Yellow Gold Tier. 1,196 people had broken through to White Platinum Tier. He now had a total of 143,256 soldiers under his command. Among them, there were 35,061 Black Iron Tier soldiers. There were 43,464 Bronze Tier soldiers. 38,672 White Silver Tier soldiers. 24,739 Yellow Gold Tier soldiers. And 4,008 White Platinum Tier soldiers. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The effect of this triumphal arch was really not bad. It was almost comparable to the effect of the Monster Ranch. Then, he led his men to clean up the Time Ruins, went to the Golem Lair to recruit 126 golems for the day, and finally led his men to farm the Monster Ranch. After spending half an hour using 10 Conqueror's blast furnaces to retrieve the loots, with the effect of the perfect loots and his titles, other than the +1 quality monster flesh, skill books, potion formulas, equipment, materials, Fire Demon Fog Wolf outfits, Vitality Potion, Jade Sun Tree Seed, and other items, he obtained a total of 226,479 Green Bronze Tier Mist Cores, 91,233 White Silver Tier Mist Cores, 57,326 Yellow Gold Tier Mist Cores, and 18,369 White Platinum Tier Mist Cores. 102,312 Soldier Type Class Change Certificates. 4,013 Sword Shield Soldier Recruitment Books. 4,112 Pudeo Soldiers Recruitment Books. 4,321 Poison Crossbow Soldier Recruitment Books. 384 Elemental Archer Recruitment Books. 13,169 Aurora Cavalry Recruitment Books. 17,500 Violent Storm Spirit Recruitment Books. 17,500 Violent Storm Spirit Class Change Certificates. 23,800 Wind Element Gems. 23,800 Thunder Elemental Gems. 30 Proof of Legion Fragments. 60,983 kilograms of Light Drawing Crystals. 3,500 Tree Core Gems. Green Bronze Tier, White Silver Tier, Yellow Gold Tier, White Platinum Tier, 21,301 True Faith Tier Scarlet Crystals. 10,963 Pious Tier Scarlet Crystals. 7,912 Fanatic Tier Scarlet Crystals. 6 White Platinum Tier and Yellow Gold Tier Mount Contracts. In addition, the soldiers had already used the Triumphal Arch to break through. Therefore, there were not many things that allowed his strength to break through again after cleaning up the Monster Ranch. Even so, 30,000 to 40,000 people had also been promoted. Even though they were all Black Iron, Green Bronze, and White Silver Tier soldiers, it was already very good. Zhou Zhou's gaze landed on the recruitment books and he could not help but nod in satisfaction. Another 43,499 recruitment books were thrown into the Gate of Summoning and he obtained 43,499 new recruits. Just one more day before the soldiers under him would officially break through to 200,000. No. Perhaps he would not need to wait until tomorrow. Zhou Zhou thought of his agreement with Liya. He would be going to the main battlefield of the Taiyan Kingdom and the Aurora Kingdom with Liya. At that time, As long as he found an opportunity to use insight defection on the main battlefield once and instigate 10,000 to 20,000 fog monsters, the soldiers under him would be able to break through to 200,000. Thinking of this, Zhou wished he could look for Li Ye immediately. However, he quickly calmed down. "I'm not done with the territory yet," he thought. Then, Zhou called Bai Yun over and handed the 43,499 recruitment books to her, asking her to bring people to recruit new soldiers. He took out the 102 proof of Legion fragments he had accumulated in the past 3 days. He looked at the fragments. A text notification appeared. "Do you want to fuse?" "Fuse," Zhou said without hesitation. The next second, the 100 fragments of the proof of Legion suddenly emitted a faint white light, enveloping all the fragments. After a long time, the white light dissipated. A red certificate and 2 fragments of the proof of Legion appeared in Zhou's hand. Zhou looked at the red certificate. Treasure name, Proof of Legion, Treasure grade, Extraordinary tier Advanced grade, Treasure effect, Certificate to establish an official army. You can use this to create an official kingdom-level army formation and activate the enhanceable army buff effect. Treasure description, Certificate to establish an official kingdom-level army. In the High Continent, only kingdoms with official kingdom-level armies are qualified to establish themselves among many kingdom-level forces and compete for supremacy. Do you want to use the Proof of Legion? Zhou took a few more curious glances and said, "Use." The next second, the Proof of Legion in his hand instantly disintegrated into countless light spots and condensed a line of red words in front of him. "Please confirm the name of your kingdom-level army, Blazing Sun Army." Zhou thought for a moment and said. As for the monster army, he would think about it the next time he saved up a second Proof of Legion. The army name, Blazing Sun Army, has been confirmed. Please confirm the Legion Commander, Deputy Commander, Logistics Chief, Machinery Chief. More than 20 military positions appeared in front of Zhou. However, Zhou did not panic. As a lord, he naturally knew the basic information of his army. He calmly filled in the gaps one by one. After confirming, a text notification appeared. You have created your Black Iron Tier army. Lord, the army function has been officially activated. Black Iron Tier army enhancement Braveness has been activated. You can increase the level of your army by collecting battle points, thereby obtaining higher level army buffs and other army benefits. Chapter 343 Function of a Kingdom-Level Army. Zhou's surprise. Army function. Legion enhancement. Zhou was curious. He searched and quickly found the army function panel beside the Lord Battlefield icon. Zhou opened it. Soon, an army green interface appeared in front of him. It showed many functions. This included the basic information function of the army, the military merit system function, the army warehouse function, the army buff function, the army battle point function, and more than 10 other functions. Zhou looked at the basic information panel and realized that it was exactly the same as the basic army information he had just set. Other than that, he could also search for the specific information of any member of the Blazing Sun Army on this panel. He no longer needed to find this person before he could see his information. This was undoubtedly much more convenient for him. Then, he looked at the military merit system. In the end, he was pleasantly surprised to discover that this military merit system was actually similar to the military merit exchange system currently implemented in his territory. All members of the Blazing Sun Army could record their military merits through this military merit system. They could even record in real time how many enemies they had killed on the battlefield and how many military merits they had obtained. He could even specially issue military merit quests to a certain unit or a specific soldier of the army through the military merit system. As long as he completed the mission, he could distribute military merits in real time. As for how to use the military merits, it was very simple. Soldiers could apply to increase their army titles by consuming military merits. They could even directly exchange for military merit items. As for where the items came from, that would involve the function of the army warehouse. The higher-ups of the army could store items in the army warehouse. Then, the soldiers could spend military merits to exchange for the items in the army warehouse. This was also much more than the items needed by the soldiers to look for military officials and then go to the warehouse to exchange for soldiers. Then, Zhou looked at the army buff. At this moment, there was only a lone black iron tier army inside. The other buffs were still in an inactive state and could only be activated by increasing the level of the army. Zhou looked at the buff. Army enhancement, courage, buff level, black iron tier, buff effect, your legionaries will be even braver when fighting on the battlefield. At the same time, your overall strength will receive a 10% enhancement. Zhou clicked his tongue. Let's not talk about whether he was brave or not for now. It was already very strong for his overall strength to obtain a 10% enhancement. It involved an entire army's group buff after all. Most importantly, this was only the black iron tier courage enhancement. What happened next? When the Blazing Sun army became a green bronze tier, white silver tier, and even a mythical tier army, this enhancement would probably increase to a terrifying level. Zhou opened the army's battle point function panel as he thought. He looked at the words displayed at the top. Blazing Sun Army, Black Iron Tier Army, current maximum number of soldiers accommodated, 167,886/1 million, current battle points, 0/100, prompt, you can obtain the corresponding battle points by completing the battle. When there are enough battle points, you can increase the level of the army and unlock more army functions. Zhou was deep in thought. Did he have to complete a specific battle to obtain battle points? That was easy. After the Lord Battlefield event was over, he could send the Blazing Sun army to conquer other ownerless territories to give it a try. He just did not know how the specific battle points were distributed. He did not think too much about it and continued to look at the other branch functions of the function of the army. Zhou was quite satisfied after reading them all in detail. This army interface was indeed a function that could become a fixed lord option. It was indeed powerful to increase the combat strength and efficiency of the soldiers under the lord. Not to mention anything else. The military merit function alone could greatly increase the efficiency of their army and the combat strength of the soldiers. It could be said that an army without an official army was completely different from an army with an official army. At this moment, Bai Yun and Wuxia quickly walked over. My lord, Bai Yun was about to speak when she saw Zhou smile. Did you discover that you have your own army interface? Yes. The Supreme Will notification said that I'm now the Legion Commander of the Blazing Sun Army. And Teacher is the Deputy Commander of the Blazing Sun Army. In addition, we also asked the other soldiers of the Blazing Sun Army and realized that they also have their own army interface. Bai Yun was slightly excited. Wuxia, who was beside him, was no exception. Both of them were smart. He naturally knew that the appearance of this army interface was extremely beneficial to the development and future potential of the Blazing Sun Army. I have just obtained an official kingdom-level army structure for our Blazing Sun Army through a treasure called the Proof of Legion. In the future, our Blazing Sun Army will be an official kingdom-level army recognized by the Supreme Will. Zhou smiled. Proof of Legion. Bai Yun was still a little surprised that there was actually a magical treasure like the Proof of Legion. Wuxia was already exclaiming. He looked at Zhou with a complicated expression. Then, he smiled bitterly and said, sometimes, I really feel that my lord is protected by the Supreme Will. In the past, when I was working in the Aurora Kingdom, His Majesty the King at that time always wanted to form an official kingdom-level army for his army. But he couldn't achieve it. Therefore, when I was in office, I never knew what an official kingdom-level army was. I only heard the diplomacy envoys of other countries mention it. I didn't expect the Lord to do something that the Aurora Kingdom's dozen kings haven't been able to do for hundreds of years in just half a month. Zhou was a little surprised. The Aurora Kingdom actually didn't even have an official kingdom-level army. Really? He thought for a moment and understood. Well, to obtain something like the Proof of Legion. Not only did he need a designated monster that would drop the fragment of the Proof of Legion, but he also needed an excellent drop rate. He had a mythical tier lord talent like the King of Loots. It took him 3 days to barely collect 100 fragments of the Proof of Legion and fuse them into an official kingdom-level Proof of Legion. It was naturally very difficult for the Aurora Kingdom to have a Proof of Legion and establish an official kingdom-level army of its own when they had nothing. He didn't say anything else on the matter and said, "We have an official army at the moment. Bai Yun, Wuxia. Make the best use of your time to send people to record our military merit system into the army's functions. Then, exchange military merits for items to fill the army's warehouse. Let's strive to let the soldiers enjoy the benefits of the Legion panel as soon as possible." Zhou said. "Yes, my lord." The two of them said excitedly. At this moment, they were looking forward to what the Blazing Sun Army would become in the future. "By the way, my lord. I've just recruited all the new recruits. There are a total of 186,893 soldiers in the Blazing Sun Army and in the Monster Army." Bai Yi reported. Zhou acknowledged. With another 13,000 soldiers, his soldiers would officially exceed 200,000. Thinking of this, he immediately looked forward to it. Chapter 344 2 billion black iron tier mist cores. Then, the three of them chatted about the development of the army for a while before Bai Yun and Wuxia left to prepare for the Lord Battlefield event later. Zhou opened the marketplace and set up a transaction after they left. He then took out 100,000 soldier-type class change certificates and excess materials, skill books, equipment, and other items from the loots he had obtained from the Monster Ranch before he directly announced the transaction. Then, he looked at the other two transactions. The first transaction was the one Zhou had set up to collect building materials to build the Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive. Zhou took a look and smiled. After spending more than a day, the collection was finally completed. All the corresponding building materials cost a total of 81 extraordinary tier mist cores. Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he felt his balls ache. The materials were not very expensive. However, the key was that he still needed another 10,000 diamond tier mist cores. That was a total of 10,000 diamond tier mist cores. It was already equivalent to 10 legendary tier mist cores. It was not even enough to empty Zhou's pockets if he wanted to build it. However, he really wanted to build the Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive. This special building could steadily produce rare dessert resources like the Blood Honey Royal Jelly and the Blood Honey Royal Cake that could restore one's youth after all. Many professionals in his territory were already old but talented. They really needed a treasure like the Blood Honey Royal Cake. Therefore, if the Blood Honey Royal Cake could be produced steadily, it would be very important to the talents in Zhou's territory. As for using the Monster Ranch to nurture the red-eyed blood wasps and produce the Blood Honey Royal Cake, it was temporarily impossible. This was because the Monster Ranch was only at the yellow gold tier intermediate grade. If he wanted to produce Blood Honey Emperor Cake that could only be produced by the Diamond tier intermediate grade Blood Jade Wasp Emperor, he had to at least reach the White Platinum tier intermediate grade in Monster Ranch. This would definitely not be achieved in a short period of time. Therefore, he still had to pin his hopes on the Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive. Thinking of this, Zhou placed his hopes on the second deal. This transaction was also set up by him yesterday. At that time, he had placed a total of 500,000 skill books and 500,000 pieces of equipment in this transaction. After more than a day of selling, Zhou had yet to see the specific transaction results even though the items had been sold out. Thinking of this, he looked at the transaction results expectantly. 2,221,208,550 black iron tier mist cores. His eyes widened. Oh my god. More than 2 billion black iron tier mist cores. Wasn't that equivalent to 22 legendary tier mist cores? This was the most he had ever made on a single transaction. The Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive? Construct. Just construct it. Zhou was pleasantly surprised. The 500,000 skill books and 50 equipment did not disappoint him. Zhou immediately went to the warehouse and threw all the building materials he had bought from the marketplace into it. Then, he spent 1 billion black iron tier mist cores to create 11,000 diamond tier mist cores through the heavenly mist treasure bag. Then, he sent Zhao Changshou over and prepared to tell him the supplies in the warehouse. Then, he would hand the Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive blueprint to him and let him do whatever he wanted. Even though this Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive blueprint was a special diamond tier intermediate grade building blueprint, Zhao Changshou had already become a diamond tier advanced grade architect. It could naturally be built. Soon. Zhao Changshou came over. Having already consumed the Blood Honey King cake, his physical state and face had already returned to their youngest peak state. At this moment, his eyes were bright and he was full of energy. It was as if he had really returned to his former young self. After Zhou told him what had happened, Zhao Changshou immediately looked pleasantly surprised. He was just worried about how to break through to the extraordinary tier elementary grade architect bottleneck. I didn't expect the Lord to give me a diamond tier intermediate grade special building construction quests. Even though the Blood Jade Wasp Emperor Beehive was only a diamond tier intermediate grade special building, be it the uniqueness of the special building or its nature as a building of the people of foreign race, it could allow Zhao Changshou to draw parallels and find the key to breaking through to become an extraordinary tier elementary grade architect. To Zhao Changshou, wasn't this giving him a pillow as soon as he fell asleep? He looked at Zhou with shining eyes. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind. The Lord was indeed a benefactor in his life. My Lord, leave it to me. I'll definitely complete this mission. Zhao Changshou said respectfully. I believe in Elder Zhao. Zhou said seriously. Zhao Changshou had made many contributions to the development of his territory. Many buildings in the territory, including the Imperial Ancestral Temple, were built by him. In addition, the other party was his dead loyal subject. He was naturally willing to believe him. Zhao Changshou was even more touched. To be able to hand such a huge project and resources to him without reservation. It could be seen how much trust the Lord had in him. He could not let down the Lord's trust in him. Zhao Changshou said firmly to himself. The two of them chatted for a while. After Zhao Changshou left, Zhou happened to realize that the deal he had just announced about the loots from the monster ranch had been completed. That was fast. He was slightly surprised. Then, he looked at the transaction results. Results, 350,212,961 black iron tier mist cores. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. He obtained another 5 legendary tier mist cores. He extracted all the mist cores from the marketplace and placed them in the heavenly mist treasure bag. Then, he checked the heavenly mist treasure bag and calculated how many mist cores he had now. In the end, he realized that if all of them were converted into legendary tier mist cores, he still had about 32 of them. Zhou nodded slightly, finally feeling confident again. Money emboldens people. Our ancestors did not lie to me. Then, he walked towards the Lord's shop. In front of the Lord's shop. Old Zhou. I'm here to buy something. Zhou said to old Zhou, who was reading the newspaper. He felt a little strange. Yesterday, old Zhou was still doing his needlework. Today, he began to read the newspaper that had the aura of the cerulean planet. He shook his head. Forget about the strange feeling in his heart. There was also a film hall and a game hall in his Lord Manor. Especially in the gaming hall, where even a game like Super Mario could be played. Compared to that, reading the newspaper was nothing. You're here. Old Zhou put down the newspaper and walked over slowly. He went to the counter and took out 4 black boxes from under it. Zhou knew that in one of the boxes was the blazing explosion that he had not bought last time. Zhou did not know what was in the other 3 boxes for the time being. Old Zhou did not hesitate and opened the 3 boxes, revealing the goods inside. The first box contained a golden card that displayed a faceless life form. There was a purple jade in the second box. Zhou was very familiar with this purple jade. It was a commodity that officially represented talent. Zhou had even used it to awaken the top talent, the celestial appearance, yesterday. He did not know what talent today's talent goods was. There was still a skill book in the third box. Zhou looked at the specific information of the 3 goods. Chapter 345 Talent, Eye of Time. Elementary Grade Kingdom and Intermediate Grade Kingdom. Zhou first looked at the Faceless Life Form's golden card. Treasure Name, Specified Subject Commodity Card, Treasure Grade, Special Tier, Treasure Effect. After using it, you can specify an ability, talent, bloodline, equipment, and other things owned by a subject to appear in the Lord's shop the next day as a commodity. Treasure Description, a special item from the mythical tier, unique Lord Talent, Lord Shop. It has the mystical ability to obtain the goods of a designated subject. Zhou's heart skipped a beat when he saw this product. This designated subject commodity card was very useful. The first thing he thought of was the 5 top-notch talents that Xiao Xian had. Talent, 9 Apertures Heavenly Heart. Talent, Celestial Appearance. Talent, Immortal Martial Sacred Body. Talent, Blessing of the God of Fortune. Talent, Danger Prediction. He had already obtained the talent, Celestial Appearance, and had already experienced its effect. It had to be said. Even though it did not look very useful, the personal experience was really good. If he could obtain Xiao Xian's other 4 talents, it could be said that he was not inferior to obtaining a legendary tier Lord Talent. Thinking of this, Zhou immediately made a decision. No matter how expensive this designated subject commodity card was, he had to buy it. However, even though he thought so, he did not buy it immediately. Instead, he looked at the talent crystal. Talent, Eye of Time, Talent Effect. Creatures with this talent have a special ability given to them by the River of Time. When observing ancient things, there is a certain chance of seeing some traces of time left on their bodies. It's actually this talent. Zhou raised his eyebrows. Wasn't this a talent that archaeologist Gubo had? The last time he went to the Kingdom of Eternal Silence, the scene of Gubo using this talent left a deep impression on him. At some special moments, this talent might actually have an unexpected effect. He could also buy this. Zhou nodded to himself. Then, he looked at the last skill book. Skill Name, Flesh Preservation, Skill Quality, Gradeless, Skill Description. It can keep the flesh of a life form fresh for a long time. It can also prevent the corpse from turning into fog and dissipating for 7 days. Zhou, shit. Zhou cursed in his heart. Wasn't everyone under his command good with this skill? Why did he give him such a trash skill? However, thinking of what old Zhou had said yesterday, Zhou gradually calmed down. Yesterday, old Zhou said that at least 1 good that was useful to the Lord would appear out of the 2 to 3 goods that would be refreshed every day. 2 of the 3 goods were useful to him now. It could be said to be very good. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He looked up and asked, "Old Joe, how much are these 2 goods worth?" He pointed at the cards and talent crystals. The designated subject commodity card is worth 10 legendary tier mist cores and 1 legendary tier territory token. The talent crystal is worth 5 epic tier mist cores and 2 epic tier territory tokens. Zhou Qingmin looked at the 2 goods and chuckled. The corners of Zhou Zhou's mouth could not help but twitch. It was really fucking expensive. However, he still did not hesitate and took out 11 legendary tier mist cores and 7 epic tier mist cores and handed them to the other party. "Thank you for your care." Zhou Qingmin took them with a smile and handed the 2 goods to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou did not say anything else after taking it. He turned around and left. "Come visit often when you're free." Zhou Qingmin's voice sounded from behind. "Let's talk about it with the mist core." Zhou Zhou's face twitched. This transaction directly shrunk his assets by another third. This lord's shop was indeed a huge source of spending. He returned to his lord manor and took out these 2 goods. Then, he first looked at the designated subject commodity card. A text notification appeared. "Do you want to use it?" "Use." Zhou Zhou thought to himself. "Please choose the subject goods you want to specify." Zhou Zhou entered, Xiao Xian, talent, danger prediction. After entering it, he heaved a sigh of relief. He naturally wanted all 4 of Xiao Xian's other talents. However, there was only one subject commodity card. He had to choose from these 4 talents. Talent, immortal martial sacred body and talent, blessing of the god of fortune. Zhou Zhou, as a lord, would not often take action personally, so he was temporarily not of much use. Even though the latter looked good, Zhou Zhou had the lord talent, king of lutes. The effect more or less overlapped with the blessing of the god of fortune. Therefore, there was no need to buy it for the time being. Talent, the 9 apertures heavenly heart could allow life forms comprehension to reach the extreme. They could easily master any knowledge and ability. They could even draw inferences and master more knowledge and abilities. Zhou Zhou was very tempted. However, it was slightly inferior to the talent, danger prediction. No matter what, Zhou Zhou's need for life-saving abilities was his number 1 priority. Therefore, he chose Xiao Xian's talent without much hesitation. At this moment, a text notification appeared. "You have chosen subject, Xiao Xian's talent, danger prediction. This talent will appear in the Lord's shop tomorrow as a commodity. Please buy it in time." Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. He looked at the talent crystal of the Heart of Time, picked it up, and used it directly. The next second, the purple jade turned into wisps of hazy purple mist and fused into his glabella. Right on the heels of that, Zhou Zhou felt that his perception seemed to have suddenly become more subtle. He seemed to be able to see something deeper from them. However, this observation ability was not of much use when looking at some normal items. This was because there was no ancient history on these normal items. Only when he observed some ancient items did his eye of time have a chance of seeing some traces of time left on their surface. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and took out a Diamond Tier Territory Fusion Certificate from his spatial ring. This Territory Fusion Certificate had been preserved in the Aurora Kingdom for hundreds of years. The Eye of Time should be able to see some traces of time. After observing carefully for a while, suddenly, an illusory image appeared from the Territory Fusion Certificate. It was an old human elder one. At this moment, he was wearing a golden royal robe and looking at the Diamond Tier Territory Fusion Certificate in his hand. At this moment, a young voice sounded. "Father, what are you looking at?" A little boy in a royal robe ran over and hugged the elder one's thigh. He looked at him curiously. "Yuangan is here. Father is looking at this Diamond Tier Territory Fusion Certificate. With this Diamond Tier Territory Fusion Certificate, our kingdom might be able to fuse 2 more extraordinary tier regional territories in the future. At that time, our kingdom will be able to advance from a beginner kingdom to an intermediate grade kingdom. Towards the end, the old man's eyes were filled with anticipation and ambition. Even though he was old, the fire of ambition remained ignited within him. The little boy nodded in confusion. After that, the two of them started chatting again. However, Zhou could no longer hear what they were saying. At the same time, the image began to gradually fade before completely disappearing. Yuan gone. Isn't that the name of Li Ya's father, the current king of the Aurora Kingdom? This is actually the scene of Li Yuangan's time when he was young. In addition, it seems that the ability of the Eye of Time is also limited. I can't keep watching. That's true. If I can really keep looking, it won't be called the Eye of Time. It can be called the Divine Eye of Time. Zhou thought. Then, he put away the Diamond Tier Territory Fusion Certificate while deep in thought. It seems that after advancing to a kingdom, advancing to an empire can't be done overnight. Instead, it has to be done step by step. The number of extraordinary tier territories should be one of the important conditions to increase the level of the kingdom. Zhou summarized his gains and losses. This time, he had gained something from using the Eye of Time. Then, he took out some items that might have an ancient aura from his spatial ring. Chapter 346 Talent with Reputation Rating, Lu Sheng. Aurora Kingdom Artillery. Some of these items could trigger the Eye of Time, while others could not. But in general, Zhou still felt good using this new talent. After this curiosity passed, he stopped using the Eye of Time reluctantly. He could not play anymore. He still had business to do. Zhou reminded himself. He first found Xiao Xian, then brought him to Zheng Yuanqi and told him about Xiao Xian's problem. He hoped that he could take some time out every day to teach Xiao Xian and let him understand more about how to do things. Towards this, Zheng Yuanqi had always liked Xiao Xian, a child with celestial appearance. He immediately agreed with a smile. Seeing that Zheng Yuanqi had agreed, Zhou also took out his school fees. They were 2 portions of blood honey king cake. After Zheng Yuanqi consumed it, not only could he recover his youth, but he could also increase his basic lifespan by 10 years and 4 additional years. After Zheng Yuanqi found out, he immediately felt that this thing was too precious and was unwilling to accept it. After declining many times, Zheng Yuanqi only accepted this gift seeing that his lord was determined. In the future, I'll leave this kid to you, Elder Zheng. Zhou smiled. Just leave it to me. I promise I won't disappoint you, my lord. Zheng Yuanqi nodded seriously. Zhou smiled and looked down at Xiao Xian. Learn from Elder Zheng. Don't be naughty with Elder Zheng. No. Xiao Xian immediately swore. Zhou nodded slightly. After that, he left without staying any longer. His lordship is so good to you. You have to repay my lord well in the future. Zheng Yuanqi turned to Xiao Xian and said seriously after the lord left. I was born without parents. Why don't I acknowledge my lord as my father? I'll be called Zhou Xian from now on. Xiao Xian had an idea. Zheng Yuanqi was caught between laughter and tears. However, there was also a trace of love in his gaze when he looked at Xiao Xian. An orphan. What a pitiful child. Thinking of this, he immediately felt that he had to teach this child well. On the other side, Zhou had just found Bai Yun and the others and was about to carry out Lord Battlefield activities when a soldier suddenly came to report that an artilleryman who claimed to be from the Aurora Kingdom wanted to join the Blazing Sun territory. Artilleryman of the Aurora Kingdom? Could it be that the talent attracted by my reputation rating is here? Zhou thought. He asked the soldier to bring the person over. Soon. A dark-skinned but bright-eyed young man was brought over. Lu Sheng. Greetings, my lord. He bowed respectfully. Get up. Welcome to Blazing Sun City. Zhou smiled. Thank you, my lord. Lu Sheng said. Zhou acknowledged. Then, he checked his personal information. Subject, Lu Sheng, Territory, Blazing Sun City, Soldier Type Class Name, Aurora Kingdom Artillery, Class, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Ability Overview. Lu Sheng has lived at the border of the Aurora Kingdom since he was young and has always suffered from the war. At the same time, he has also seen the powerful power of the Aurora Cannon during his chaotic life. When he grew up, he joined the Aurora Kingdom and finally became the King of Cannons. Lu Sheng firmly believes that caliber is justice, and range is the truth. His dream is to use justice and truth to blast out true peace. Skills: White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Master Gunner, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Artificial Stabilization, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Cannon Theory, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Cannon Repair Technique, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Energy Replenishment Technique, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Deadly Strike, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Artillery Training. Loyalty, 90, Potential, Extraordinary Tier Advanced Grade. Zhou raised his eyebrows. He was actually a professional Aurora Kingdom gunner in charge of using the Aurora Kingdom cannon. He looked at the other party's skill. When he saw the last skill, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Kingdom Artillery Training, his eyes lit up. There were more and more Aurora cannons in his territory. This morning, there were already 2 Diamond Tier Elementary Grade Aurora cannons. However, the professional gunners did not. It had always been soldiers taught by Elder Zhao who came to control the Aurora cannon at the last minute. Even though it could barely be used. However, it was hard to say how accurate it was. Everything would be fine now. With this former cannon king here and the other party having mastered the method to train the Aurora Kingdom's artillerymen, as long as the other party trained a batch of Aurora Kingdom artillerymen, wouldn't the Aurora cannons in his territory be used by specialized people? This could definitely greatly increase the combat strength of his territory. There are many Aurora cannons in my territory. Since you used to be the king of cannons, then join my Blazing Sun army and be in charge of training the Aurora Kingdom's artillerymen. Zhou immediately made arrangements. Yes, my lord. Lu Sheng naturally had no objections. This was what he relied on to make a living. Oh yes. Since you were the king of cannon previously, you should be treated very well, right? Why did you suddenly think of joining my Blazing Sun territory? Zhou asked curiously. A bitter smile appeared on Lu Sheng's face. He raised his right arm and rolled up his sleeve. A silver mechanical arm appeared on his arm. Zhou's eyes widened slightly when he saw the arm. Fuck. Cyber prosthesis. 2 days ago, when I was fighting the enemy of the Taiyan army on the battlefield, it was accidentally cut off by a demon blade soldier who rushed into the artillery camp. Even though the people of the kingdom saved me immediately and installed this mechanical prosthetic limb from the Machina race, I know that my skills are no longer comparable to before I lost my right arm. So I took the initiative to retire. My superior didn't ask me to stay back then, so after I left, I suddenly thought of the recent news about the Diamond Tier Elementary Grade Aurora Kingdom Tower. I came here to make myself useful. Lu Sheng said. Then, he hurriedly added on, but don't worry, my lord. Even though my gunnery skills are not as good as before, I'm still confident in training the artillery. Zhou acknowledged. He came to a realization. The key to the other party's matter was probably the words my boss didn't ask me to stay, right? TSK. He was a cannon king after all. Even if his skills were not as good as before after losing his right arm, he was still training the artillery. Was he going to let him leave without hesitation? At least give a few hypocritical words of advice. It seemed that even though the other party was once the king of cannons, their relationship in the palace did not seem to be so good. He didn't think too much about it and smiled at him. Your broken limb is fine. Our Blazing Sun territory has the technical ability to use limb restoration. As long as you make enough military merits, you can just go straight to limb restoration. Really? Lu Sheng's eyes lit up. Their expressions were faintly excited. Of course it's true. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. I will definitely serve you wholeheartedly, my lord. Lu Sheng knelt on one knee without hesitation. Zhou Zhou smiled and reached out to help him up. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. Then, Zhou Zhou brought him to the Blazing Sun Army's base and began to rank. Chapter 347 Lord of the Blazing Sun vs Heaven Chasing Lord, matching with your queuing opponent. Zhou Zhou looked at the line of words and did not care much. He headed straight for the Imperial Ancestral Temple. According to his past experience, he would definitely have to wait for a period of time after starting the ranking before he could successfully match up with his opponent. There were only a few top-notch mythical tier advanced grade lords after all. It was impossible to rank on the Lord battlefield at all times. Since that was the case, he would use this time to go to the Imperial Ancestral Temple and ask for a war enhancement. Imperial Ancestral Temple. Zhou Zhou looked at the 4 shrines in front of him. 3 of the shrines had already been occupied by the ancestor statue. They were Sun Simiao, yellow gold tier, Lu Ban, and Lu Bei, yellow gold tier. Only the 4th one was still empty. He did not think too much about it and placed 50 yellow gold tier mist cores on the altar in front of the shrine. Soon, the altar lit up slightly. Then, the 50 yellow gold tier mist cores on it disappeared and a text notification appeared. You have obtained an ancestral blessing, Arms Firepower, yellow gold tier war enhancement. Arms Firepower, yellow gold tier war enhancement. The destructive power and lethality of weapons controlled by a lord increases by 100%. Duration, 4 hours. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up when he saw the ancestral blessing. The lethality of the weapons increased by 100%. Then his diamond tier elementary grade Aurora Kingdom Tower could already cause damage to extraordinary tier experts. It increased its power by another 100%. Wouldn't that be able to cause damage to extraordinary tier heroes? Good war enhancement. It's just a little too short. Zhou Zhou smacked his lips. The duration was only 4 hours. It could only fight 2 lord battlefields at most. None of them could work in the subsequent battles. Then, he shook his head. Why would he complain about free ancestral enhancement? After that, he offered incense and bowed to the 3 ancestors before leaving. Just as he had expected. From the time he obtained the ancestral blessing until he returned to the base of the Blazing Sun Army and the Monster Army, this ranking system had yet to give him a match. In his boredom, Zhou Zhou opened the Lord Battlefield function and looked at his ranking. In the end, he realized that his ranking had decreased from 6th to 7th. As for the Extreme Dragon Race Lord, Extreme Venerable, who had previously surrendered to him without fighting, quietly climbed to 6th place. Lord Father came in 5th place. The ranking points of the other lords had more or less increased by dozens of points. The corners of Zhou Zhou's mouth twitched. Were they really so bored? All of them were actually secretly scoring points behind his back. Especially Lord Father and Extreme Venerable. Could it be that he was ranked the entire day yesterday while he was out fighting? Zhou Zhou was helpless. It seemed that as the myriad races Lord Battlefield approached the later stages, all the top lords of the myriad races began to work hard to score. He had to continue increasing his ranking too. He had nothing to regret. If he had also split them all yesterday, the two possessors of top-grade talents, Lord Shop and Fighting God Full-Time Master 2, might have died in East Demon City after all. He would have missed these two top-grade talents. He didn't think too much about it. After Zhou Zhou closed the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking, his gaze landed on the gray icon, the final battlefield. Today is the 7th day. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly. The function, the final battlefield, had existed since the opening of the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield event. It showed that the final battlefield, would only open 7 days later. Today was the 7th day. Which meant the final battlefield function would officially be activated the next day. What exactly is the final battlefield? Zhou Zhou muttered. His 6 senses were astonishing. He vaguely felt an ominous aura from this name. Just as he was thinking, suddenly, a text notification appeared. Match successful. Entering the battlefield. Zhou Zhou's body suddenly became illusory before quickly disappearing. The next second, the world in front of him suddenly changed and he arrived at a city in the sky. The city in the sky floated in the sky. It was hundreds of thousands of square kilometers in size. The surrounding blue sky was clear and cloudless. The ground of the city was paved with jade, looking extremely extravagant and gorgeous. On both sides of the sky city stood 2 cities. One of them was Blazing Sun City under Zhou Zhou's feet. On the other side was a golden castle that looked like a god or a saint. A living being in a white robe that emitted golden light floated above the castle and was looking at him from afar. Even though it did not move, the golden light on its body was filled with a pressure that was like the might of the world. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly as he looked at the golden light on its body and the obvious pressure. He had felt this feeling in the shelter of the goddess of life. That was the power of the laws. At this moment, a text notification appeared. Zhou Zhou forcefully suppressed the restless Dragon Slayer King will in his body and looked over. You have entered the mythical tier advanced grade battlefield. You and your opponent have been randomly assigned to the mythical tier advanced grade battlefield, nameless ancient city. Your opponent is, Shepherd's God Race Lord, Heaven Chasing Lord. Condition to defeat the enemy, kill all the enemy forces within 24 hours. If you exceed the time limit, both sides will be judged to have negative battle results. Ranking score -20. Those with insufficient ranking score, rank -1. You have 10 minutes to deploy your forces. Countdown, 9 minutes, 59 seconds, Zhou Zhou's pupils constricted. His gaze landed on his opponent's name. Shepherd's God Race Lord, Heaven Chasing Lord. The top lord of all races ranked 3rd on the rankings of the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield. He actually encountered it. Zhou Zhou's expression was calm and there was no fear in his eyes. Just as well. He could test the methods of the top 3 lords before the final battlefield began. Then, he did not immediately deploy. Instead, he used the void detection technique to look at the other party's attribute information. In the end, he did not see any obscure information other than normal information. Then, he took out the index of all races, copy, and looked at the other party's racial information. Shepherd's God Race, a peak race from the Divine Court universe. The Shepherd's God Race innately contains 108 Divine Court realm apertures that can store the power of laws. As the Shepherd's God Race grows, these Divine Court realm apertures can gradually accommodate the power of laws, allowing the Shepherd's God Race to control the power of laws in advance and unleash the strength of a near-God spirit even if they have not become a god. After the Shepherd's God Race completely grows up, the 108 Divine Court realm apertures in their bodies will grow into a small divine world. Moreover, each small divine world will produce a small god spirit to rule the small divine world and respect the Shepherd's God Race. The Shepherd's God Race will use this name and use it to become a god. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly. Another terrifying race like the original Spirit Race and the Chaos Gods Race. As long as they fully matured, they would definitely become a god. No wonder it could compare to the two abnormal lords, the true Lord and the Great One. He did not think too much about it and began to deploy his subordinates. At the same time, in heaven-chasing city, the heaven-chasing lord watched from afar as the other party calmly began to recruit subordinates and was slightly surprised. This was because most mythical tier advanced grade lords knew that they would lose when they encountered a top-notch lord like him who could occupy the top 3 of the myriad races lord battlefield ranking. Therefore, they would directly admit defeat and surrender to avoid wasting time so that they could start the next round early. It had been a long time since he had encountered a lord who recruited subordinates so calmly like Zhou Zhou. He should be the lord of the blazing sun who suddenly rose recently. Interesting. A mere human lord can actually ascend to the mythical tier advance grade and compete with us. Looks like you're quite capable. But to me, you're just free points. The lords also began to deploy calmly. Chapter 348 Rare Shepherds God Race People. Law, Gravity. As one of the top 3 lords, heaven-chasing lord strength was almost the same as the true lord and the Great One lord. They were almost 2 completely different strengths from the 4th and the lords after that. Therefore, it was extremely proud. To him, the blazing sun territory was just a rising star with some characteristics. It did not think that it would lose at all. 10 minutes later, the deployment of both sides was completed. A text notification appeared in front of the 2 lords. Deployment time has ended. The battle has begun. On Blazing Sun City. Zhou Zhou looked at heaven-chasing city in the distance and raised his eyebrows slightly. Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the other generals behind him were also using alchemy binoculars to look at the situation in the distance. This alchemy telescope was made from a gradeless alchemy technology blueprint he happened to obtain when he conquered regional territories not under the jurisdiction of the kingdom. Its effect was to observe the scene in the distance by injecting energy. He could observe the scene 30,000 meters away. This observation distance was already quite good for a gradeless alchemy technology product. At the moment it was already produced and used through the Gnome Alchemy Workshop. The alchemy telescope in Bai Yun and the others' hands was the first batch of products. Is the other party planning to rely on the advantage of the city wall to wait for them to exhaust themselves? Bai Yun put down the alchemy telescope and said in surprise. At this moment, Zhou Zhou had already told them the information of the shepherd race. Even though everyone was amazed at how terrifying the shepherd's god race was, they were not afraid of the upcoming battle. However, Bai Yun was a little surprised that the other party had such a powerful background but did not take the initiative to attack them. I'm afraid the other party disdains to take the initiative to attack. It wants us to take the initiative to attack and see what despair is. Wuxia also put down the alchemy telescope and smiled. How confident. Feng Luo sighed. He did not say that the other party was arrogant. The other party's strength, race talent, and unknown lord talent indeed gave him confidence. Since the other party has already taken the initiative to signal, then let's attack. Zhou Zhou said calmly. The other party was confident. Wasn't he the same? He was no longer the same person as yesterday. Yes. Everyone accepted the order. Then, Bai Yun and Wuxia left 50,000 poison crossbow soldiers and elemental archers to defend the city. Then, they led the other 100,000 soldiers to form the Greedy Wolf Howling Moon Array. They summoned their Greedy Wolf avatar and ran towards heaven-chasing city. Nazario, Auguste, Feng Luo, and Maris followed on both sides of the Greedy Wolf avatar. When the heaven-chasing lord saw this scene, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. His expression immediately became serious. His gaze landed on the Greedy Wolf avatar and Nazario, who was flying beside him. An array spirit with extraordinary tier extreme strength. There are also pure-blooded dragons with white platinum tier elementary grade strength. How did this guy do it? The heaven-chasing lord knew very well how difficult it was for high-level bloodline life forms like them to increase their strength level. Take him for example. As the strongest lord of the shepherd god race, even with the help of the shepherd's god race he had summoned, he had only just reached the white silver tier elementary grade. However, this strength was not bad for the true lord and the great one lord. As for the pure-blooded dragons under the human race, they would not be much weaker even if they were weaker in terms of bloodline. In addition, he had to give a portion of the promotion energy to his lord. Logically speaking, at this stage, it was definitely impossible to upgrade it to the white platinum tier elementary grade. However, the strength of the pure-blooded dragon in front of him could not be faked in his eyes. The key was probably the reason why this human lord could reach the mythical tier advanced grade. The heaven-chasing lord did not think too much about it and immediately ordered all the soldiers in the territory to attack and fight these enemies. The door of heaven-chasing city was opened with a rumbling sound. Then, soldiers of all kinds of races rushed out of the city and rushed towards the greedy wolf avatar fearlessly. There were a total of more than 200,000 soldiers of various races. They were subordinates that the heaven-chasing lord had subdued from the lords of other races. As for the shepherd's god race members, they did not have time to manage the trivial matters of the territory because there were relatively few of them. Therefore, the heaven-chasing lord let these subjects of the people of foreign race deal with the trivial matters of the territory's development. After seeing these subjects rush out, the heaven-chasing lord turned to look at the 4 shepherds god race people in red robes behind him. These 4 shepherds god race people were all the shepherds god race subjects that it had summoned through the gate of summoning in the past 16 days. It was different from the human lord where Zhou was. The human lord could summon many human subjects from the gate of summoning every day. However, as the shepherd's god race's bloodline was too noble and there were too few of them, even the gate of summoning could not summon many shepherd's god race people in a day. In the beginning, the heaven-chasing lord could only summon 1 shepherd's god race member every 5 days. Later on, after the heaven-chasing lord continuously upgraded the gate of summoning, he could only summon 1 shepherd's god race member every 4 days. Therefore, even if the shepherd's god race under its command had never suffered any losses, until now, it only had 4 shepherd's god race members under its command. However, even though there were only 4 people, their potential had reached the low-tier deity level at the very least. In addition, they could control the power of laws in advance. It could be said that the shepherd's god race was rather terrifying in terms of potential and strength. Zhen. Come and help the subject soldiers deal with this human lord. The heaven-chasing lord said calmly. Yes, my lord. The shepherd's god race member called Zhen nodded calmly and came to the city wall. It looked at the battlefield. At this moment, more than 200,000 subjects from heaven-chasing city had already surrounded the greedy wolf avatar. Subjects attacked the greedy wolf avatar one after another. Then, they were easily killed by the greedy wolf avatar, and more subjects rushed up. This scene seemed to be the subjects of heaven-chasing city consuming the power of the greedy wolf avatar. However, anyone with discerning eyes could tell. The greedy wolf avatar was completely at ease dealing with these heaven-chasing city subjects. It did not seem worried that its energy would be exhausted at all. In addition, there were experts like Nazario, Auguste, and Feng Luo helping the greedy wolf avatar deal with these heaven-chasing city subjects. It was completely impossible to rely on these subjects to defeat this greedy wolf avatar and the other experts of Blazing Sun City. Zhen shook his head. He could tell that more than 90% of the human lord subordinates were professionals. Most of the subjects who rushed out were not professionals. Therefore, even if they could suppress the other party in numbers, it was far inferior in quality. Under such circumstances, it was almost impossible to defeat them with these subjects. Thinking of this, it raised its right hand, and a large amount of energy began to be consumed. At the same time, wisps of illusory strange energy condensed in its hand, affecting the surroundings of the greedy wolf avatar, Nazario, Auguste, Feng Luo, and the other experts of Blazing Sun City. Rule, gravity. Zhen said softly. At this moment. In the distance, the greedy wolf avatar, Nazario, Auguste, Feng Luo, and the other experts of Blazing Sun City suddenly felt their bodies become at least 100 times heavier. Their expressions changed. Chapter 349 Power of Law vs Golden Dragon Break. On the battlefield. The greedy wolf avatar froze on the spot, as if it could not move at all. The eyes of the surrounding heaven-chasing city subject soldiers lit up when they saw this scene. Then, they used all kinds of attacks or skills to attack the greedy wolf avatar. Even though most of them were not professionals, they had also embarked on the path of extraordinary tier and more or less grasped some extraordinary tier power. It was just that they did not have professional skills like professionals. They were still very strong to normal life forms. However, even though they had grasped extraordinary tier power, when their attacks landed on the greedy wolf avatar, they realized that their attacks could not even break the defense of the creature in front of them. They could only cause a small ripple on its body at most. However, they did not care about this anymore. They only wanted to use their own methods to exhaust the other party's energy. The other party's energy was limited. As long as they could continuously attack, they would be able to exhaust the other party's strength sooner or later. At that time, they would naturally be able to easily defeat this greedy wolf avatar. Heaven-chasing city. Zhen's expression did not change at all when he saw that his nomological attack was effective. Laws were higher-level attacks. The two were equivalent to water and rocks. Even if they were of the same size, water could not break rocks. Therefore, in its eyes, it was only natural that its law, gravity, could suppress the other party. Next, as long as the subjects of the people of foreign race consumed all their energy, when the time comes, the other party would naturally be defeated. Victory would be at his fingertips. Thinking of this, it was about to turn around and return to behind the heaven-chasing lord. At this moment, howl. A divine wolf roar that seemed to come from the stars sounded. Zhen suddenly turned around. Then, he was stunned to see that the greedy wolf avatar, which was originally suppressed by him in the distance, had actually broken free from its nomological, gravity suppression and began to slaughter the people of foreign race subject soldiers around him again. The energy level of this array spirit has reached the limit of the extraordinary tier. Moreover, there are more than 4,000 white platinum tier human soldiers supporting its incarnation. There are also many yellow gold tier silver tier human soldiers. You can't suppress it by relying on your own law of gravity. The heaven-chasing lord's voice sounded. At this moment it was staring at the greedy wolf avatar in the distance. Its eyes emitted a 7-colored divine light. It could actually see through the number and strength of the soldiers inside the greedy wolf avatar at a glance. The power of the laws was indeed strong. However, they were still weak after all. The energy in their bodies could not unleash the true power of the law. Just as stones were indeed much harder than water. However, if a huge wave of the sea slapped over, the reef would also break. More than 4,000 white platinum tier soldiers. Zhen and the other 3 shepherds god race members revealed looks of shock. Even if this human's advancement did not require too much promotion energy like them, however, at this stage, wasn't it too ridiculous to have more than 4,000 white platinum tier soldiers? The heaven-chasing lord also saw their expressions. Maybe it's this human's lord talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reached our level. Don't underestimate the other party. Attack together. It said. Okay. I'll do it. The other 3 shepherds god race members also walked up and stood side by side with Zhen. They raised their hands, and the power of all kinds of laws surged. Law, fire. Law, arrow. Rule, sharpness. In an instant. The world changed color. fire swept through the world. A transparent arrow condensed in the air. At the same time, an invisible sharp law adhered to the surroundings of the arrow, increasing the power of the arrow law again. The next second, fire adhered to the surface of the greedy wolf avatar. When the surrounding subject soldiers of the people of foreign race saw this scene, they were so afraid that they did not dare to approach, leaving a large empty space around the greedy wolf avatar. The transparent arrow also shot towards the head of the greedy wolf avatar. The transparent arrow arrived at the glabella of the greedy wolf avatar in the blink of an eye. Then, it paused slightly and pierced through with the enhancement of the sharp laws. When Zhou, who was in the distance, saw this scene, he was shocked. Logically speaking, the greedy wolf avatar was built from the essence, qi, and spirit of his 100,000 soldiers. As long as his 100,000 soldiers' essence, energy, and spirit were not exhausted, there would definitely not be any flaws in the greedy wolf avatar's body. It was definitely impossible for arrows to pierce the body. However, the scene in front of him told Zhou that he could do it. Is this the power of the law? It can actually allow 4 green bronze tier advanced grade Shepherd's God race members to pierce through my greedy wolf avatar with extraordinary tier limit strength? Zhou frowned. That's right. He had already seen the strength of the 4 Shepherd's God race members. They only had the strength of a green bronze tier advanced grade. And a Shepherd's God race member with such strength could actually cause damage to his greedy wolf avatar. This made him feel that it was unbelievable. As expected of the top race that could compare to the original spirit race and the Chaos Gods race. It was indeed unbelievably strong. His gaze landed on the 200,000 people of foreign race subjects around him. He was not surprised that the heaven-chasing Lord had these people of foreign race subjects. With the Shepherd's God race's strength, they would be able to snatch so many subjects by force after all, even without talents or items like insight defection or recruitment books. Moreover, the human lords of the Cerulean planet could gather thousands of lords by establishing the Lord Alliance and obtain a large number of troops. He did not believe that these high-level bloodline lords would not think of it. However, compared to them, the soldiers under his command had 2 huge advantages. One was naturally a professionals with a ratio of more than 90%. Other than the monster army, the remaining soldiers of the Blazing Sun army were all professionals. The second was naturally loyalty. His soldiers were all absolutely loyal to him. As for these soldiers of the heaven-chasing Lord, he had already seen many deserters in the battle just now. Loyal soldiers would never run away from a battle. His gaze landed on the greedy wolf avatar again. In his perception, even though the phantom of the arrow law shot into the greedy wolf avatar, it did not cause much damage to it. Back to when the transparent arrow had just shot into the head of the greedy wolf avatar. As the core of the greedy wolf howling moon array, Wuxin's location was at the core of the greedy wolf avatar's head. Therefore, Wuxian happened to have to face it when the law of arrow and the law of sharpness shot in. Facing the invisible arrow condensed from the dual laws, a warning bell immediately sounded in Wuxin's heart. The next second, a dragon roar suddenly sounded. In the blink of an eye, Wuxian turned into a half-dragon. At the same time, a golden wave of air spread in all directions with him as the center and enveloped the 4008 white platinum tier soldiers in the greedy wolf avatar. Finally, it formed a real golden dragon body. It was Wuxin's hero skill, Golden Dragon Break. Then, the golden dragon charged towards the invisible arrow with an unstoppable momentum. Chapter 350, 3000 Divine Kings, and, Rule, World, Rumble. The two collided in the blink of an eye. Then, the golden dragon body shattered the invisible arrow without stopping and rushed out of the bloody mouth of the greedy wolf avatar and ran towards heaven-chasing city. Zhen and the others' expressions changed slightly when they saw this. They knew that their supreme barrier would probably not be able to stop this golden dragon just by looking at the power. They naturally would not sit back and watch the golden dragon land in heaven-chasing city. Therefore, they controlled the power of laws again without hesitation and formed an arrow surrounded by flames. At the same time, it was imbued with the laws of sharpness and arrows before shooting at the golden dragon. However, it was useless. This time, the invisible arrow formed by the three laws only stopped the golden dragon for a few seconds, causing its body to fade a little before shattering again. When the three shepherds' god race members saw this, they condensed another nomological arrow to stop it. This cycle repeated 3 to 4 times before the golden dragon was completely defeated. When they saw this, they panted heavily as they looked at the greedy wolf avatar in shock. One of the shepherd's god race members clicked his tongue and said, "This is the first time I've encountered such a strong lord of all races. I only have 20 to 30% of the power of the arrow law left in my divine aperture." "Me too. I still have 10% of the power of laws." The others said one after another. There was not much power of laws left in their bodies in order to stop Wu Xin's golden dragon break. That's a hero skill released by a diamond tier advanced grade human hero. It's normal for it to be so powerful, the heaven-chasing lord said. However, even though it said that it was normal, there was still an obvious tremor in its eyes. A diamond tier advanced grade hero. Its strength was already comparable to an extraordinary tier normal race life form. It was normal for such an existence to appear in the later stages of the Lord of all Races competition. However, it was just the beginning of the Lord of all Races competition. It was really unbelievable for such an existence to appear. When the other shepherd's god race members heard this, their expressions immediately trembled. This human lord actually had a diamond tier advanced grade human hero. No wonder he was so strong. They could not help but look at Zhuan. Because Zhuan was the only hero among them, Zhuan subconsciously avoided their gazes. It was only at the green bronze tier advanced grade. Even if it could control the power of laws, it was definitely not comparable to a diamond tier advanced grade hero, right? At this moment, on the Lord battlefield, Nazario, Auguste, Feng Luo, Maris, and the other experts of Blazing Sun City were cleaning up the subject soldiers of the people of foreign races around the greedy wolf avatar. The greedy wolf avatar opened its bloody mouth and a blood-red army extermination light ball condensed. Then, it shot towards the shepherd's god race in heaven-chasing city. The pupils of the heaven-chasing lord and the others constricted. This was because they realized that the attack power used by the other party was even stronger than the golden dragon break just now. Zhen and the others gritted their teeth and were about to join forces to stop the army extermination light ball again. At this moment, the figure of the heaven-chasing lord suddenly appeared in front of them. "Let me help you," the heaven-chasing lord said. Then, it raised its hands. Buzz! A tangible fluctuation quickly spread in all directions with its hands as the center and quickly covered the entire Lord battlefield. The world suddenly changed. When both sides reacted, all the living beings suddenly realized that the world they were in was no longer the Lord battlefield, the nameless ancient city. Instead, it was an unfamiliar white world. There was nothing in this white world. It looked extremely desolate. World, I didn't expect this human lord to actually force the lord's trump card out. His lordship's world law is only used when facing the true lord and the great one lord. A shepherd god race member whispered. The other members of the shepherd's god race did not say anything. They only lowered their heads in shame. Why would their lord be forced to use such a trump card if not for the fact that they were useless? On the other side, Zhou suddenly felt an extreme pressure suppressing him from all directions. At the same time, he realized that his strength had been suppressed from yellow gold tier elementary grade to white silver tier elementary grade. How did this happen? Zhou was shocked. As soon as he finished speaking, A line of text appeared. Supreme Will Notification. It is an effect caused by the suppression of the world slot of the power of the world law. It can reduce the strength of the heaven-chasing Lord's enemies by a large level, while the strength of the shepherd's god race will increase by a large level. Zhou Zhou could not help but curse. Wasn't this increase too ridiculous? One suppressed and one increased, directly widening the difference of two major realms between him and the enemy. This was even stronger than the dragon-slaying will. The dragon-slaying will was only targeted at high-level life forms of the race after all. However, the other party's world slot suppression could be used on any enemy. Still, Zhou Zhou felt the Dragon Slayer King's will and chaos bloodline in his body. He could feel that no matter whether it was the Dragon Slaying King's will or the chaos intimidation of the chaos bloodline, it could make him and the people with the Dragon Slaying will immune to the suppression of the other party's world slot. At that time, he would increase his strength through the Dragon Slayer King's will. Then, the difference in strength and realm between him and the other party would increase again. He thought for a while and looked at the battlefield. On the battlefield, all the soldiers inside the greedy wolf avatar, including Bai Yun and Wu Xian, felt that their strength had decreased by a major realm. At the same time, they could also sense that their dragon-slaying will was immune to this world slot suppression and that their strength would increase by two major levels at the same time. However, they had always remembered their lord's instructions not to easily reveal their dragon-slaying will, so they did not use this ability. However, even without using the dragon-slaying will, the greedy wolf avatar formed by their essence, chi, and spirit still maintained the strength of the extraordinary tier limit. The soldiers who formed the greedy wolf avatar were on average too strong after all. It was enough to support the actions of the strongest greedy wolf avatar even though their strength was suppressed by an entire level. At most, the time he could maintain the greedy wolf avatar would be shortened for a while. When the heaven-chasing Lord of Heaven-chasing City saw this scene, he immediately frowned. It realized that it had underestimated this human lord. He had used the nomological world, created by his mythical tier, unique lord talent, 3,000 divine kings, but he still could not suppress the other party's strength. It thought for a moment before its gaze landed on the four shepherds god race members beside it. Do it again. It said. Yes, my lord. The four of them said in unison. Then, he activated the power of his laws again and condensed an invisible sharp arrow surrounded by the law of fire and the law of gravity. At this moment, the strength of the four shepherds god race members had already increased from green bronze tier advanced grade to white silver tier advanced grade from the world slot. Therefore, the power of the laws used had increased by more than 10 times. However, when they saw that the arrow they had created with all their might was actually shattered by the human hero's golden dragon break 3 times, they immediately fell silent. For the first time, they realized the importance of the strength realm. In the past, when they faced lords of other peak races, they could easily destroy them and obtain victory with their talent in controlling laws. This made them gradually ignore the importance of strength and realm. However, when the human hero whose strength had been suppressed to the white platinum tier advanced grade easily broke through the attack they had jointly created, they suddenly realized how important strength and realm would be at a critical moment. At this moment, the greedy wolf avatar condensed another blood-red army extermination light ball and shot towards heaven-chasing city. The heaven-chasing lord watched the ball of light descend quietly. It did not choose to surrender even if death was imminent. As proud as it was, even if it had to endure the pain of death, it would not surrender to an ordinary race. In any case, they would all revive later on. Before it died, the heaven-chasing lord looked deeply at Zhou Zhou, who was standing on blazing sun city in the distance. "We'll meet again," it said softly. Then, in the blood-red explosion, it turned into dust with heaven-chasing city. You have defeated the shepherd's god race lord, heaven-chasing lord, mythical tier advanced grade lord. You have won this ranking competition. Congratulations, you have obtained 100,000 battlefield points. Congratulations, you have obtained 75 ranking points. Ranking system notification, your current ranking score is 140. Please continue ranking and obtain a ranking score to increase your ranking. You need to participate in at least one ranking competition every 3 days. Otherwise, your ranking score will drop. Chapter 351, 4th place. Influence. Zhou Zhou looked at the victory notification in front of him and could not help but smile. He actually obtained 75 ranking points at once, allowing his total ranking points to reach 140 points. It seemed that the higher the ranking lord, the higher the ranking score he would obtain. He did not need to rank one after another and slowly accumulate ranking points to increase his ranking. Still, he looked at heaven-chasing city, which had already become ruins in the distance and gradually turned into a phantom before disappearing. Zhou Zhou's expression was serious. The heaven-chasing lord was indeed the third-ranked lord of all races. Its strength could be said to be the first among all the lords he had encountered. The heaven-chasing lord was already so strong. How strong would the Great One Lord and the True Lord, who were firmly above the other party, be? Zhou Zhou pondered. It seemed that he still had a long way to go if he wanted to defeat all the lords and reach the top of the lord ranking. However, this path was not far for him. There were only 2 opponents left after all. Then, his gaze landed on Wuxia, who was in the middle of the greedy wolf avatar. At this moment, Wu Xin's expression was calm and high-spirited. Obviously, he was also quite satisfied with his attack just now. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Wuxia, who had already recovered to his peak strength, was undoubtedly the second strongest combatant after Nazario. After that, he did not stay any longer and left the Lord battlefield with the soldiers. Blazing Sun Army's base. Zhou Zhou, 150,000 soldiers, Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the others appeared out of thin air. Let the soldiers rest for a while. Prepare for the ranking in the Lord battlefield later. Zhou Zhou ordered. Yes, my lord, X2 Bai Yun and Wuxia said in unison. Then, the 2 of them went to arrange for the soldiers. After the 2 of them left, Zhou Zhou clicked to continue ranking as he opened the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking. And then, he saw his name immediately. Original Spirit Race, True Lord, Rank, Mythical Tier Advanced Grade, 215 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking, 1st. Chaos Gods Race, Great One Lord, Rank, Mythical Tier Advanced Grade, 195 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking, 2nd. Shepherd's God Race, Heaven Chasing Lord, Rank, Mythical, Tier Advanced Grade, 150 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking, 3rd. Cerulean Planet Human Race Lord of the Blazing Sun, Rank, Mythical Tier Advanced Grade, 140 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking, 4th. 4th place. And am only 10 ranking points away from 3rd place. Then I can steadily enter the top 3 as long as I win another round of the Lord ranking. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. These 75 ranking points were not for nothing. It actually made him jump from 7th to the 4th place. The other lords would probably be dumbfounded when they saw his sudden leap, right? That was indeed the case. A mythical tier advanced grade lord was the focus of the lords of all races. All the lords were extremely familiar with the lords of each rank. Therefore, when the ranking of the Lord of the Blazing Sun suddenly increased from 7th to 4th, all the lords of the myriad races who were paying attention to the rankings were immediately stunned. Extreme Dragon City. 5 silver Extreme Dragon race members soared in the sky. On the throne in the center of the Extreme Dragon City lived an Extreme Dragon race that was more than 1,500 meters tall. It was the Extreme Venerable Lord. At this moment, it seemed to be resting with its eyes closed, but it was actually diving on the Dragon Race World channel and reading the comments of the other pure-blooded dragons. There were not many pure-blooded dragons in the myriad worlds, for example, the extreme dragon race. There were less than 1,000 of them in all of the extreme dragon race. Therefore, the Supreme will placed all the pure-blooded dragons in a world channel. In this world channel, other than the extreme dragon race like the extreme venerable lord, there were also fire dragons, elven dragons, lava dragons, golden dragons, and other pure-blooded dragons. When the Dragon World channel first opened, all the pure-blooded dragons were very excited. There were very few dragons after all. A pure-blooded dragon might not even encounter another pure-blooded dragon even after living for hundreds or thousands of years. This Dragon World channel could finally allow them to see their relatives. But soon, the dragon race's world channel changed. This was because most dragons were unruly. In addition, bloodline suppression was useless through the world channel. Therefore, even an extreme venerable lord with a noble bloodline would be scolded by the other dragon keyboard warriors on the world channel. The extreme venerable lord did not hold back its status. Often, it would personally scold other pure-blooded dragons when they scolded it. As time passed, the Dragon Race World Channel was about to become a place of dispute. At this moment, the extreme venerable lord had just scolded a pure-blooded dragon troll and was in a good mood. But soon, its mood darkened again when the news appeared. Did you see that? That human lord's ranking just suddenly increased, jumping from 7th to 4th. It's fake, right? How can his ranking increase so much directly? Look for yourself if you don't believe me. Stupid dragon. Who are you scolding? I'm just scolding you. So what? Can't you understand what I'm saying? I'm a noble radiant spirit dragon. How dare you scold me? So what if you're a radiant spirit dragon? If you have the ability, turn into light and hit me, stupid. Give me the location of your territory if you have the guts. Fuck your fucking ass. Facing this sudden cursing scene, many pure-blooded dragons were used to it and even watched it with relish. Of course there were also some pure-blooded dragons who were surprised by the news and immediately opened the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield ranking. The Extreme Venerable Lord was one of them. When it heard that a lord of a human race had reached 4th place, it had a bad feeling. When it opened the rankings of the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield and saw the Lord of the Blazing Sun in 4th place, its dragon face immediately turned ugly. Previously, it had even said unpleasant words to this human lord, mocking him that he would definitely lag behind all the top lords in the future. It did not expect. In the blink of an eye, the other party had raised his lord rank to 4th place. It swept its gaze around and quickly landed on the ranking score behind the heaven-chasing lord. The extreme venerable lord's dragon eyes widened. It clearly remembered that the heaven-chasing lord's ranking score was 190 points. Why did it drop by 40 points now? Could it be? It suddenly thought of a possibility and its gaze lingered between the names of the heaven-chasing lord and the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Could it be that the Lord of the Blazing Sun had defeated the heaven-chasing lord, so his ranking score suddenly increased so much and reached 4th place? Thinking of this, it immediately fell silent. It seemed. This was the only reason why there was such a huge change in their scores. Lord of the Blazing Sun, the Extreme Venerable Lord muttered this name and frowned. The reaction of the lords of all races was more or less similar to that of the Extreme Venerable Lord. Among them, the lords of the Cerulean planet naturally had the greatest reaction. Many Cerulean planet lords observed the changes in the Lord of the Blazing Sun's ranking every day. Many Cerulean planet human lords immediately noticed it now that his ranking had suddenly increased so much. Then, they sent this news to the World Channel without hesitation. Soon, the World Channel became lively. Chapter 352, 3rd place. The Taiyan Kingdom is attacking. The Dragon Lady Lord, the Undead Lord, the Overlord Lord, the Dragon God Lord, the Insect Mother Lord, and other top lords were all alarmed by this news. When these top Cerulean planet lords opened the rankings of the myriad races Lord Battlefield and saw the ranking of the Lord of the Blazing Sun, the thoughts that appeared in their minds were the same as the other lords. How did he do it? Even though the other normal lords were also very curious about this matter, they were relatively far from the Lord of the Blazing Sun after all, so they were more curious about something else. That was, where could the Lord of the Blazing Sun of the Cerulean planet end up in the end? Could he take another step forward and enter the top 3 of the Lord ranking? Or even first place? At this moment, the news of the Lord of the Blazing Sun defeating the heaven-chasing Lord and coming to 4th place on the Lord ranking of all races spread at an unbelievable speed. There was even news of local forces in the high continent. More than an hour later, Zhou had finally matched up with an opponent. This time, his opponent was an old friend. It was Lord Father, whom he had defeated yesterday. Lord Battlefield, Cold Moss Snowfield. When Lord Father stood in Lord Father City and saw the Lord of the Blazing Sun standing on the opposite side of Blazing Sun City, its expression immediately turned ugly. I've queued for more than 3 hours. Why is it him again? He was extremely depressed. Originally, he had been defeated by the other party before. He had just found out that the other party had defeated the heaven-chasing Lord and arrived at the 4th place on the Lord ranking. After knowing this, Lord Father knew that he was even less of a match for this human Lord. The other party could defeat the heaven-chasing Lord after all. It had already proven that the other party had the strength of the top 3 lords of all races. He might even be comparable to the Great One Lord and the True Lord. Lord Father thought that its territory was very strong, but it did not think that it could compete with the top 3 lords of all races. He did not expect to encounter him again. At this moment, it suddenly saw the Lord of the Blazing Sun standing on the city wall in the distance on Blazing Sun City, waving at him with a smile. Lord Father's face darkened. He did not even summon his mechanical army from reality and directly disappeared into the air with Lord Father City. On the city wall of Blazing Sun City, Zhou looked at the text notification in front of him in shock. The Machina Race Lord, Lord Father has surrendered. You have defeated the Machina Race Lord, Lord Father, Mythical Tier Advance Grade Lord. You have won this ranking competition. Congratulations, you have obtained 100,000 battlefield points. Congratulations, you have obtained 20 ranking points. Ranking System Notification, your current ranking score is 160. Please continue ranking and obtain a ranking score to increase your ranking. You need to participate in at least one ranking competition every 3 days. Otherwise, your ranking score will drop. He actually surrendered without fighting. Zhou was surprised. He was a mythical tier advance grade lord after all. How could he surrender just like that? Then, he thought for a moment and smiled. It was good to choose not to fight. It saved their time. The strength of his territory had increased again after all. If it was said that it was a little strenuous to deal with Lord Father last time, this time, he could easily deal with him. Lord Father's action of taking the initiative to surrender was considered a wise move. He opened the rankings of the myriad races Lord Battlefield and looked at the top 4. Original Spirit Race, True Lord, Rank, Mythical Tier Advance Grade, 215 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield Ranking, 1st. Chaos Gods Race, Great One Lord, Rank, Mythical Tier Advance Grade, 195 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield Ranking, 2nd. Cerulean Planet Human Race, Lord of the Blazing Sun, Rank, Mythical Tier Advance Grade, 160 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield Ranking, 3rd. Shepherd's God Race, Heaven Chasing Lord, Rank, Mythical, Tier Advance Grade, 150 points, Myriad Races Lord Battlefield Ranking, 4th. A smile appeared on Zhou's face. He was finally in 3rd place. He suddenly sighed. At the beginning of the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield event, when he saw the first 3 lords, he had always felt that they were unattainable. He felt that he would definitely not be able to obtain the rewards of the strongest lord of the myriad races in this event. But now, his strength has already undergone a tremendous change compared to before. He was already competing for the position of the strongest lord of all races. Thinking about his experience along the way, it was really unbelievable. He took a moment to relish in it before leaving the lord battlefield with the soldiers and continued to rank and match. Zhou opened the world channel expectantly, taking advantage of time between the matches. As expected, at this moment, many lords of Cerulean planet on the world channel were discussing fervently about him being in the top 3 of the myriad races lord battlefield. Big Boss Blazing Sun is awesome. Big Boss Blazing Sun's decade-old fan came uninvited. Big Boss Blazing Sun's greatest of all time. I've decided that if the Lord of the Blazing Sun comes to attack my territory one day, I can directly surrender to Big Boss Blazing Sun and offer my territory with both hands just based on what happened today. Previous poster, you're talking as if you can defeat Big Boss Blazing Sun if you don't surrender. Ridiculous. Isn't Big Boss Blazing Sun too strong? Previously, I thought that extraordinary tier elementary grade was Big Boss Blazing Sun's limit. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Big Boss Blazing Sun had already reached the top 3 and was on par with the True Lord and the Great One Lord. To be honest, this is no longer a problem with the mythical tier unique Lord talent, that's right. Logically speaking, every low-level race will have their own mythical tier, the only Lord talent holder. However, our Big Boss Blazing Sun is the only Lord of an ordinary race who can really reach the top of the Lord ranking. This is something saying. There are so many people talking. No one should be able to see what I say. I want to be the dog of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Woof. Zhou closed the world channel in satisfaction. 3 hours later. Zhou, who had been waiting for a long time, finally welcomed today's 3rd ranking. This time, his opponent was the Primordial Emperor Lord, who was ranked 8th in the Myriad Races Lord battlefield. This Primordial Emperor Lord was said to be the incarnation of the innate original spirit essence. He was naturally good at controlling all the elemental energy. His bloodline level was second only to the top races like the original spirit race, the Chaos Gods race, and the Shepherd's God race. It did not surrender facing the Lord of the Blazing Sun even though it knew that the other party was one of the top 3 lords. Instead, it chose to fight with all its might. However, be it the extraordinary tier Greedy Wolf Avatar, the Diamond tier Advanced grade Wuxia, the White Platinum tier Elementary grade Nazario, the Yellow Gold tier Intermediate grade Auguste, or the 100 new Army Extermination Knights who had joined the Blazing Sun Army. They were all crushing the other party in terms of strength. In the end, Zhou's side defeated the other party without even using the Aurora Kingdom Tower. This Lord Battlefield ranking also allowed Zhou's ranking points to advance further, reaching 180 points. It basically stabilized his 3rd place. Just as he wanted to continue ranking, the soldiers stationed in Kingdom Beginning City suddenly transmitted urgent information. A fog monster army of about 500,000 suddenly appeared in the territory of Kingdom Beginning City. Their goal was also quite clear. It was Kingdom Beginning City. When Zhou found out about this, he quickly reacted. The Taiyan Kingdom had sent an army over. Chapter 353 Inexplicable Panic. It's finally here. When Zhou heard this news, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was not afraid that it would come, on the contrary, he was afraid that it would not. Zhou could naturally deal with them calmly if they came. He might become suspicious instead if they didn't come. The Taiyan Kingdom would not silently suffer without retaliating after all. He immediately decided not to rank. In any case, he was already ranked 3rd, and there were still 3 days before the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield event. These 3 days were enough for him to fight for the title of the strongest Lord of all races. Therefore, The most important thing for him now was to seize the last 3 days to increase his strength again and prepare to face the true Lord and the Great One Lord. Staying on the Lord battlefield would not be beneficial to his strength. These 500,000 troops of the Taiyan kingdom were undoubtedly a chance to increase his strength. His insight defection was still useless today after all. It could be used on these attacking fog monster army. Where are they now? What characteristics do those monsters have? Zhou Zhou asked the sentinels who delivered the information. That group of fog monsters is about 200 kilometers away from Kingdom Beginning City. They will arrive in about half an hour at that speed. Those monsters are corpse-type undead monsters. As for the corpse type, it's a humanoid monster with 4 arms and a single horn. They wear an iron mask on their faces, so I can't see their exact appearance. The sentinel said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded. Putting aside the other party's combat strength, however, there was still time from the distance they were at. Jing Hongzi had already established the spatial teleportation array between Blazing Sun City and Kingdom Beginning City. If he wanted to lead troops to Kingdom Beginning City, he could do it in the blink of an eye. Zhou Zhou immediately ordered Bai Yun and Wu Xian to reorganize the military equipment and prepare to head to Kingdom Beginning City. At this moment, Li Ye and her maid, Yu Qiao, walked over. "Are you going on another expedition?" Li Ye said in surprise. "Yes, the Taiyan kingdom sent an army over to take back my Kingdom Beginning City. I have to go over and deal with them." Zhou Zhou nodded. "How many monsters does their army have? What kind of monsters do they look like?" Li Ye immediately asked nervously. "There are about 500,000 fog monsters. As for their appearance, they're corpse-type fog monsters wearing masks." Zhou Zhou said. "About 500,000? Corpse fog monsters wearing masks, could it be the faceless Corpse King army?" Li Ye seemed to have thought of something and her face suddenly turned pale. "You know about this army?" Zhou Zhou asked curiously. "I know. The Taiyan kingdom once sent this army to fight our Aurora Kingdom's Aurora army. The Aurora army is a subordinate army of our Aurora Kingdom's strongest army. In the end, our Aurora army suffered a crushing defeat with the same number of troops. These fog monsters of the Faceless Corpse King army have extremely hard bodies. Moreover, they are extremely crazy when fighting without fear of death. The soldiers of the Aurora army are no match for them at all. Looks like you've really made King Taiyan want to kill you." She took a deep breath and her expression became hard. "But don't worry. I'll go find my father now and ask him to send troops to support us," she said. "No need. Even though 500,000 fog monsters are a lot, I can deal with them." Zhou Zhou shook his head. Li Ye looked at Zhou Zhou and did not say anything. She did not know where her good friend's confidence came from. That was an army of 500,000 fog monsters. Even if one was very strong and the development speed of the territory was extraordinary, it was impossible to deal with an army of this level, right? However, she hesitated and did not say anything. She knew that this friend of hers never did anything unprepared. Maybe he really had the confidence. Zhou Zhou could also see the hesitation in her eyes. However, he did not explain. It was useless to say anything about this. He could just prove it with practical actions. "Oh yes. Have you gotten the 1,000 diamond tier Aurora crystals?" Zhou Zhou suddenly thought of this and asked. "I've got them." Li Ye came back to her senses and asked. Speaking of this topic, a smile finally appeared on her face. 1,000 diamond Aurora crystals. If they were to obtain it through the corpses of the honorable subjects, they would need at least 20,000 corpses. She did not expect to obtain them just by handing 10,000 honorable subject corpses to Zhou Zhou. With these 1,000 diamond tier mist cores and the corresponding construction resources, it was enough to build 100 diamond tier elementary grade Aurora Kingdom towers. As long as they had these Aurora Kingdom towers, the pressure on their Aurora Kingdom would definitely be greatly reduced. I'm afraid I won't be able to go to the main battlefield of the Aurora Kingdom with you today. I'll go when I have time in the future. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and said. He wanted to say that he would go tomorrow. However, when he thought about how tomorrow was the day the final battlefield opened, he was worried that something would happen, so he did not say anything. I know. Take care of yourself. If you need anything, you must let me know immediately. Even though our Aurora Kingdom is now surrounded by enemies on 3 sides, we can still spare a portion of our troops to support you. Li Yi said seriously. Thank you. Zhou Zhou looked at her serious face and smiled. You don't have to be so polite with me. Li Yi smiled. Zhou Zhou nodded. He looked at her. He suddenly remembered that he had accidentally heard Li Yi say that she liked him. Like. Zhou Zhou thought about it silently and shook his head in self-deprecation. Coming to this chaotic world, it was already not easy to live with his subjects. If he was really tempted, wouldn't he make the other party a widow if he died on the Lord battlefield one day? It was better not to implicate the other party. Zhou Zhou sighed inwardly, but he did not show it on the surface. What do you want to do next? I'm prepared to return to the Aurora Kingdom first and tell my father about these 1000 diamond tier mist cores so that he can feel more at ease. In the past few days, my father's hair has turned white because of the surrounding enemies. Father shouldn't be that worried with these 1000 diamond tier mist cores. Then he'll come back tomorrow. Li Yi smiled. Then he'll send you. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. There's no need. Go take care of your Kingdom Beginning City first. Don't let those guys take back Kingdom Beginning City. Li Yi smiled. Of course not. Zhou Zhou said confidently. Li Yi looked at his confident expression and smiled and nodded. Then, she bade farewell to Zhou Zhou and walked towards the city gate with Wuxia. Zhou Zhou watched them leave. Suddenly, his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he felt inexplicably panicked and anxious. Li Yi. Zhou Zhou blurted out. In the distance, Li Yi was stunned. Then, she stopped and turned to look at Zhou Zhou. What happened? It's nothing. Come back soon. Zhou Zhou was silent for a moment before saying. Come back soon. Li Yi was stunned. Then, she thought of something and her fair and smooth face suddenly blushed. Why did these words sound so much like what a husband would say to his wife when they came from Zhou Zhou's mouth? She suddenly let one's imagination run wild. Then, she did not dare to face Zhou Zhou. She nodded shyly and turned to walk quickly towards the city gate. Zhou Zhou looked a little embarrassed when he saw Li Yi's flustered expression. What was wrong with him? Why was it like a man and woman in love who wanted the other party to return as soon as they separated? He was clearly just friends with her. Could it be that he really wanted to fall in love? He shook his head and forgot about this inappropriate idea. He walked into the teleportation array with Bai Yun and the others and disappeared. Chapter 354 Yellow Gold Tier Insight Defection. Black Wind Demon Spear. Kingdom Beginning City. On the spatial teleportation array. As soon as Zhou Zhou and the others appeared, he seemed to sense something and looked southwest. What a strong militant aura. Zhou Zhou frowned. It seemed that that direction should be the direction of the Mist Legion. The Mist Legion formed by 500,000 mist monsters was indeed extraordinary. He could actually sense it from so far away. In the time that followed, Wuxia and Bai Yun led 150,000 soldiers and began to set up defenses around Kingdom Beginning City. As for the remaining 30,000 soldiers, they naturally stayed in Blazing Sun City to guard his base camp. At this moment, Zhou Zhou arrived at a secret chamber in the Lord Manor. He took out 1,000 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments and prepared to upgrade his Lord Talent. He first fused these 1,000 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments into a yellow gold tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal. Then, he chose to use it and a text notification appeared. As you have 4 white silver tier Lord Talents at the same time, Monster Ranch, Insight Defection, Return to the City, and Embrace of the Conqueror, please choose one to advance. I choose to advance to Insight Defection. Zhou Zhou said without hesitation. The other white silver level Lord Talents were also very good. However, among them, the one he liked to use the most was undoubtedly the Lord Talent, Insight Defection, which could allow him to freeload off his subordinates. Therefore, he chose Insight Defection. In the future, if he had extra yellow gold tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystals, he could level up to Return to the City or Monster Ranch. Lord Talent has been chosen. Upgrading in progress, the next second. A familiar warm feeling came from between his eyebrows. A moment later. The warmth faded. A new text notification appeared. Lord Talent upgrade successful. Congratulations, your white silver tier Lord Talent, Insight Defection, has been upgraded to yellow gold tier Lord Talent, Insight Defection. Your mythical tier Lord Talent effect is as follows: Lord Talent, Insight Defection, white platinum tier, Insight Defection, a Lord's exclusive talent. You can activate the Insight Defection talent to turn 5% of the enemy Lord's forces into your loyal subordinates when you fight the enemy Lord head-on. Lord Talent Hint 1, the minimum number of enemies for Insight Defection is 1 unit, and the maximum number of enemies for Insight Defection is 300,000 units. The minimum loyalty of enemies after Insight Defection is 89 points. Lord Talent Hint 2, currently, the upper limit of the feudal Lord faction that you can induce Insight Defection is Epic Tier Elementary Grade. This upper limit can grow. Lord Talent Hint 3, this talent can only be activated once a day. Zhou Zhou looked at the yellow gold tier Lord Talent, Insight Defection. The more he looked at it, the wider the smile on his face grew. After reading it thoroughly, Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The upgraded Insight Defection not only increased from 8% to 12%, but it also increased by 4%. Moreover, its upper limit had increased from 100,000 to 300,000, and its loyalty had increased to 89 points. If it increased by a little more and reached 90 loyalty points, it would basically be equivalent to half a dead loyal citizen. Zhou Zhou guessed. He estimated that after raising the Insight Defection to white platinum tier, he should be able to increase the loyalty of his subordinates to 90 points. However, he definitely could not improve it now. He only had 4 white platinum tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. He could not fuse the white platinum tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal to upgrade the Insight Defection. The matter of upgrading Insight Defection could be discussed in the future. As for raising the upper limit of the Insight Defection to Epic Tier Elementary Grade, he did not have to worry too much about it. Because as far as he knew, the Taiyan Kingdom was only an extraordinary tier advanced grade kingdom level faction. The white silver tier Insight Defection before leveling up was enough. After Zhou Zhou finished reading, he closed the Lord Talent interface and looked at his remaining Lord Talent crystal fragment. 74 black iron tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 145 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 7 white silver tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 3 yellow gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 4 white platinum tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 10 extraordinary tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 2 legendary tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. 1 mythical tier unique Lord Talent crystal fragment. Zhou Zhou's gaze landed on the 10 extraordinary tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. When the blessing of the war god reached diamond tier in the future, he could directly use these 10 extraordinary tier Lord Talent crystal fragments to upgrade to legendary tier. Then, he put away these Lord Talent crystal fragments and went to the city wall to wait quietly. A moment later. Rumble. The ground shook slightly, and a grey corpse chi gradually appeared in the distance. As time passed, the tremors and corpse chi became more and more obvious. Soon, 500,000 faceless corpse kings appeared in front of all the soldiers in Kingdom Beginning City. Just as the sentinels had reported. The soldiers of the Faceless Corpse King Corps were all corpse-type undead monsters with iron masks. The leader was a black-armored general riding a black horse. It led the 500,000 Faceless Corpse King Corps behind it and surged towards Kingdom Beginning City like an ocean of corpses. When the soldiers of Blazing Sun City saw this scene, they only felt that their eyes were filled with densely packed Faceless Corpse King Corps soldiers. They were filled with the pressure of numbers. They arrived about 5,000 meters in front of Kingdom Beginning City and stopped. The black-armored general in the lead rode his black horse forward for a distance before stopping. "Surrender, or die," it said coldly. On the city wall of Blazing Sun City. Zhou ignored him and looked at his attributes. Monster name, Zhiwu, Hero Unit, Scarlet Lord, Hero Title, Black Wind Demon Spear, Fate Level, Extraordinary Tier Heroes Fate Level, Territory, Taiyan Kingdom, Strength Level, Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade, Monster Description, one of the 3 extraordinary Scarlet Heroes of the Taiyan Kingdom. It is good at using an Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade arms, Black Demon Spear. At the same time, it can control the power of the wind element and attach it to its Black Demon Spear to increase its combat strength. Its combat style is crazy. Sometimes, it even slaughters allies. It is feared and even hated by many higher-ups in the Taiyan Kingdom. Loot's drop rate, 80 Extraordinary Tier Mist Cores, drop rate, 100%, 1 Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade Hero Skills, Wind Demon Boisterous Dance, 1 Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade Hero Skill, Mad Will, 300 Origin Crystals, drop rate, 100%, 1 Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade Black Demon Spear, drop rate, 10%, 1 Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade Skill Book, Extreme Wind Blade, drop rate, 5%, 1 True Faith Tier Scarlet Crystals, drop rate, 3%, 1 Extraordinary Tier Intermediate Grade Skill Book, Black Tornado, 1 Extraordinary Tier Advanced Grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, drop rate, 0.001%, 3 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, drop rate, 0%. Chapter 355 Faceless Corpse King Corps Chaos Energy Airdrop Gun Carriage. Scarlet Hero. Zhou raised his eyebrows. He could understand why the other party sent 500,000 members of the Fog Army. However, he was a little surprised that a Scarlet Hero was actually sent. Was there a need to go all out? At this moment, he suddenly realized that Wuxia, who was beside him, was also staring at the Scarlet Hero. His eyes were slightly red and he was panting slightly. His expression was completely different from usual. "Brother Wu." "My lord." It took Wuxia a few seconds to react. "This Black Wind Demon Spear is the Scarlet Hero who injured you back then?" Zhou guessed something and asked. "It's indeed this guy." Wuxia was silent for a few seconds before nodding with a bitter smile. Zhou nodded slightly and came to a realization. No wonder Wuxia, who had always been calm, was so emotional. It turned out that the enemy who had harmed him for his entire life had arrived. Well, if not for this guy, old Wu might still be in a high position in the Aurora Kingdom. Why would he take the initiative to retire and come to his small territory to be a general? If it wasn't for the turning point in his life, it would be equivalent to ruining old Wu's life. If it was him, he would also hate the other party for the rest of his life too. "Brother Wu, are you confident in dealing with him if you control Greedy Wolf Avatar?" Zhou asked. Wuxia was stunned for a moment before he smiled and said, "My lord, there's no need to fight this Scarlet Lord one-on-one. Just let everyone attack together." He could tell that the Lord did not want anyone else to interfere so that he could personally take revenge and vent the anger in his heart. Even though he had become younger, he was still the great general who had been in charge of the army for more than 50 years. As a general, the first thing he would think of when he encountered an enemy was to gang up on them. Bullying the weak was the true essence of military affairs after all. As long as the other party died. No matter what method it was. The resentment accumulated in his heart would naturally be resolved. Zhou did not say anything else. He looked at the faceless corpse King Core in the distance and his gaze landed on a faceless black iron tier advanced grade corpse. Monster name, Faceless Corpse, Strength level, Advanced grade, Monster description, soldiers of the 2nd Battalion of the 3rd Regiment of the Faceless Corpse King Core in the Tane Kingdom. As undead creatures, they are not afraid of death in battle. At the same time, their bodies are tough. Ordinary sharp weapons cannot pierce through their bodies. Loot's drop rate, 8 black iron tier mist cores, drop rate, 100%, 1 black iron tier advanced grade death mask, drop rate, 10%, 1 black iron tier advanced grade skill book, hardened skin, drop rate, 5%, 1 shallow faith tier scarlet crystals, drop rate, 2%, his gaze landed on the green bronze tier and white silver tier faceless corpse elite, the yellow gold tier and white platinum tier faceless corpse boss, the diamond level faceless corpse king lord, and the last faceless corpse king. Legion commander. He discovered that the spoils of war of these monsters would increase as their levels increased. Not only would the quality of the original spoils of war increase, but there would also be additional loot such as Fight to the Death Will, Corpse Blood Arrow, Corpse Fire, and other skill books, as well as faceless corpse armor and weapons. Zhou was not too interested in these fancy spoils of war. He would only be a heartless skill-learning machine after the war. However, the spoils of war of the Faceless Corpse King piqued Zhou's interest. This was because it had 9 black iron tier Lord Talent Crystal fragments in its spoils of war. After using the King of Loots to upgrade it, it would have another 9 green bronze tier Lord Talent Crystal fragments. The other loots were nothing more than extraordinary tier skills and equipment. Zhou could not use it yet. He could let epic tier experts use them in the future. He had come to terms with it now. Loots like high-level equipment and skills that drop from monsters. While he could not use it, the powerful subordinates beside him would be able to use them. If he could not use it himself, he would just let them use it. Not only could it be used as a military reward, but it could also increase their strength. In any case, he did not need to make a move. He did not have much need for these high-level skills and loots. After looking at the loots, Zhou looked at the Black Wind Demon Spear, Zhiwu. He took out a white platinum tier intermediate grade saber that had been lowered by the tree core gem and slashed at the other party. Chaotic Blade Chi. A 4 to 5 meter long chaotic saber chi shot out from the saber and shot towards the flag of the Faceless Corpse King Core. It was so fast that it arrived in front of the flag in the blink of an eye. But in the next second, a black shield suddenly appeared around the flag, protecting it. After the chaotic blade chi hit the black shield, it was instantly stuck on the spot. When Zhiwu saw this, a mocking expression appeared on his face. He had already used his own strength to protect the army flag. How could a low-level yellow gold tier human lord break its protection? Crackle. At this moment it was as if something was dissolving. Zhiwu and the faceless corpses looked at the chaotic blade chi again. The chaotic blade chi was gradually disintegrating and cutting the black shield. Soon. Puff. Crack. The chaotic blade chi pierced through the black shield at the cost of dissolving more than half of it. It directly cut off the flag of the Faceless Corpse King Core inside the shield and completely disappeared. Seeing this scene, the Faceless Corpse King Core immediately fell silent. After a long time. Everyone, attack. Destroy this city. Leave no one alive. Zhiwu's eyes were bloodshot, and his body started to tremble. The army flag behind him was actually cut off in front of him. Moreover, it was cut off under his protection. This was a great humiliation to him. He must make the enemy pay with their despair and wails. On the city wall of Kingdom Beginning City. When Zhou Zhou saw the flag being cut off, a smile appeared on his face. While he did not know that the black shield came from the extraordinary tier Scarlet Hero, he could sense that it was not ordinary. Still, his chaotic blade chi was even stronger. Or rather, his chaotic blade chi was better at decomposing and cutting. At this moment, he suddenly thought of something. He looked at the chaotic energy on the arms in his hand and fell into deep thought. The cutting and decomposition ability of the chaotic blade chi. Why does it feel like the shepherd's god race's nomological powers? Zhou Zhou muttered. Before he could think further, he saw the battlefield where the faceless corpse King Kor was in the distance, change. 1,000 faceless corpse elites pushed out 100 grey war machines that looked like catapults. However, what they placed were not stones, but turbid crystals emitting rich elemental energy. Zhou Zhou looked over, and a text notification appeared. Alchemy Technology Product, Chaos Energy Airdrop Gun Carriage, Grade, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade, Product Effect, place a Chaos Energy Elemental Stone in the cannon case and project it out. The range is 1,000 to 50,000 meters. After the mixed energy primeval stone lands on the ground, the chaotic elemental energy inside will be disrupted, causing a large explosion in the range and causing damage to enemies or buildings and other things in the range of the explosion. Product Description: an alchemical technology product from the Goblin Technology Group. It's a famous siege weapon in the Taiyan Kingdom. Siege weapon? Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.